He thought for a moment and said, I plan to rent a villa. A villa? Zhang Shuiao stopped in surprise and looked at him. It's just the two of us living here. Do we need to rent a villa? Wouldn't it be too big? And the rent must be very expensive, right? Chen Hao looked at her and said seriously, I don't want to settle. I want to give you and the baby the best and most comfortable living environment. Don't worry about the money, I can afford it now. Hearing him say that, Zhang Shuiao felt another wave of emotion. He always put her first. Her eyes darted around, and suddenly an idea struck her. A sly smile appeared on her face as she said, renting a villa. What a coincidence, I happen to have a friend nearby who has a vacant villa that seems to be ready to be rented out. I can help you get in touch and ask about the situation. Upon hearing this, Chen Hao thought it would save him the trouble of finding a real estate agent to look at apartments, and happily said, That's great. Could you please ask around for me? If it's suitable, we'll make a decision. Okay, I'll call and ask right away. Zhang Shuiao said, taking out her phone, but instead of dialing immediately, she said to Chen Hao, Wait here for me, I'll find a quiet place to play. She quickly walked to the shade of a tree some distance away from Chen Hao, making sure he couldn't hear the conversation. She didn't have any friends renting out villas, she was going to rent her own villa to Chen Hao. It turns out that when she was admitted to Shanghai University, her father felt sorry for her and specially bought her a well-furnished villa in an upscale neighborhood near the school so that she could live more comfortably. However, Zhang Shuiao felt that living in such a big house alone was too lonely, and although it was close to the school, it was not as convenient and lively as the dormitory. So she spent most of her time living in the school dormitory, and the villa remained vacant. She would only go there for a day or two on weekends or holidays. Now that Chen Hao wants to rent a villa, the first thing she thinks of is her own house. It not only meets Chen Hao's requirements, but also has a good environment, and it's his own home, making him feel more at ease living there. But she didn't want Chen Hao to know that the villa belonged to her. She understood Chen Hao's personality, he had a strong sense of self-respect and didn't want to rely on the woman's family. If you directly say it's her house, Chen Hao might not accept it, or he might feel awkward. She thought for a moment and then dialed a number. The call was quickly answered, and a clear, pleasant female voice came from the other end. Hello? Shuiao? What brings you to call me today? Sister Qin, Zhang Shuiao said to the person on the other end of the phone. Do you have time now? Can you do me a favor? The person making the call was Zhang Shuiao's cousin, Ding Yakin. I have time, what's up? Tell me. Ding Yakin replied readily. Zhang Shuiao then told Ding Yakin the address of the villa near Shanghai University, and then said, Sister Qin, I need your help with something. I need to pretend to be the owner of this villa. If anyone asks later, just say the house is yours and you're planning to rent it out. Ding Yakin, on the other end of the phone, was taken aback and asked in confusion, Huh? Why? Didn't your uncle buy that villa for you? Why do you want me to pretend to be the owner? Zhang Shuiao was a little embarrassed, but still gave a brief explanation. Oh, don't ask so many questions. It's just that a friend of mine wants to rent a house, and I think he's a good fit, so I'm thinking of renting the villa to him. But I don't want him to know the house is mine, lest he have any ideas. Friends? Ding Yakin's voice immediately took on a gossipy, amused tone. A man? Shuiao, you're not dating someone, are you? Wow. You kept it a secret so well. Tell your cousin, which young master is it that has caught the eye of our Miss Zhang? Zhang Shuiao's cheeks flushed from her words, and she retorted, Sister Qin. Keep your voice down. He's not some rich kid, he's just an ordinary classmate, a really nice person. Are you going to help or not? I'll help. Of course I'll help. Ding Yakin agreed with a smile, her tone full of teasing. Our Shuiao has finally fallen in love, so of course I, her older cousin, will give her my full support. But, aren't you afraid I'll tell uncle and aunt if you secretly start dating? You won't. Zhang Shuiao said confidently. You're the best, cousin. All right, stop flattering me, Ding Yakin said with a smile. I've noted down the address. I'm coming over now, and I promise to make your act flawless. Thank you, cousin. Zhang Shuiao breathed a sigh of relief, chatted with Ding Yakin for a few more minutes to confirm the details, and then hung up the phone. She put away her phone, composed herself, and walked back to Chen Hao's side with a relaxed smile on her face. I asked around, and my friend said that her villa is currently vacant and can be rented out. I got the address, it's not far from the school, and the environment is quite nice. She said if we were interested, we could just go and take a look. Chen Hao was surprised to hear news so quickly, and since the term sounded good, he happily said, "That's great. Shall we go take a look now?" Chapter 28. A monthly rent of 1,000 yuan is practically the same as renting for free. Zhang Xueya drove Chen Hao to the villa under her name. This is an upscale villa area located in a quiet neighborhood, with lush greenery and a tranquil environment. The car stopped in front of a 3-story villa with a private courtyard. The white exterior walls and dark roof, with their simple and elegant lines, exude a low-key luxury. Chen Hao got out of the car and curiously looked at the building in front of him. The villa looked well maintained, with some flowers and plants in the courtyard. Although it wasn't particularly large, the layout was excellent and the privacy was good. He was very satisfied at first glance. The environment here was indeed much better than that of ordinary residential buildings or apartments, and it was only about a 10-minute drive from Shanghai University, which was very convenient. "What do you think of this place?" Zhang Xueya walked to his side and asked with a smile, feeling a little nervous and expectant. "That's good," Chen Hao nodded, his eyes filled with approval. "The environment is very quiet, the house looks nice, and most importantly, it's close to the school, which is very convenient. I think this place is nice." Hearing Chen Hao say he liked it, Zhang Xueya breathed a sigh of relief, and her smile became even sweeter. "Yes, I like it here too." "Since you like it too, let's book this place." Chen Hao immediately made the decision. Finding a house that satisfies both people is not easy. "Okay," Zhang Xueya replied, then, as if remembering something, added, "By the way, this villa actually belongs to my cousin." She tried to make her tone sound natural. "Your cousins?" Chen Hao asked, somewhat surprised, before laughing. "That would be even better. It's a house we know, so communication is easier, and we feel more at ease." As the two were talking, a sleek white luxury sedan drove up and silently stopped next to Zhang Xueya's red sports car. The car door opened, and a very stylish and beautiful woman stepped out. She looked to be in her mid-20s, tall and slender, wearing a well-tailored designer suit, with exquisite makeup, striking and elegant features, and an outstanding demeanor. She was none other than Ding Yakan, Zhang Xueya's cousin. Zhang Xueya immediately went to greet her and called out affectionately, "Cousin." Taking advantage of the opportunity, she grabbed Ding Yakan's arm and, using her body as cover, quickly stuffed the villa key she had prepared beforehand into Ding Yakan's hand, while giving her a knowing look. Ding Yakan felt the object in her hand, understood immediately, and without showing any emotion, naturally took the key in her palm. Then, she smiled, patted Zhang Xueya's hand, and whispered, "Don't worry." Zhang Xueya was finally relieved. She took Ding Yakan's hand and turned to walk towards Chen Hao. "Chen Hao, let me introduce you. This is my cousin, Ding Yakan," Zhang Xueya said with a smile. "Sister Qin, this is Chen Hao, whom I mentioned to you before." Chen Hao quickly greeted her politely, "Sister Qin, hello, I'm Chen Hao." He could tell that this cousin had an extraordinary air about her and must come from a wealthy family. Ding Yakan looked Chen Hao up and down a few times, a scrutinizing glint in her eyes, before a bright smile appeared on her face, and she replied gracefully, "Hello, Chen Hao." Just as Xueyo said, he's handsome and dashing. She paused, then changed the subject, and like any older sister concerned for her younger sister, she launched into a barrage of questions with a hint of curiosity and inquiry. "Chen Hao, where are you from? What do your parents do? How many siblings do you have? What year are you studying at Shanghai University? What's your major?" These questions were asked directly and naturally, as if the speaker was checking out his younger sister. Chen Hao was caught off guard by the questions, but he remained polite and answered each question briefly. "Sister Qin, I come from a small county in Jiangnan province. My parents are farmers, and I am their only child. I'm currently a junior at Shanghai University, majoring in computer science." Zhang Xueyao, listening from the side, grew anxious, afraid that her cousin's probing questions would make Chen Hao uncomfortable. She quickly interjected, gently tugging at Latina's arm and playfully scolding her. "Cousin, you're here to rent out a room, not to check household registrations. Why are you asking so many questions?" Seeing Zhang Xueyao's protective attitude, Ding Yakan couldn't help but chuckle. She gently tapped Zhang Xueyao's forehead with her finger and teased her. Oh, so you're already protecting her? Fine, I won't ask anymore, okay? Look how anxious you are." Zhang Xueyao blushed at her teasing and glared at her shyly. After the joke was over, Ding Yakin took out the key that Zhang Shuiao had just given her, walked forward, and skillfully pretending to be skilled opened the wrought iron gate of the villa's courtyard. "Let's go inside and take a look at the house," Ding Yakin said. The three of them walked into the courtyard and arrived at the entrance of the villa. Ding Yakin opened the door again with the key. Since she wasn't actually familiar with the interior layout of the villa, to avoid giving herself away, she opened the door and naturally said to Chen Hao, "The house is like this. Feel free to look around and see if you're satisfied. Ask me if you have any questions." She adopted a casual attitude befitting a homeowner. "Okay, thank you, cousin." Chen Hao nodded. Zhang Shuiao's heart tightened. She had stayed at this villa occasionally before, and some of her personal belongings were still there, such as slippers, toiletries, a few books, and perhaps even a few pieces of clothing she hadn't taken with her in the closet. If Chen Hao sees this, then the whole thing will be exposed. She immediately stepped forward, took Chen Hao's arm, and said with a smile, "Let me show you around. I know the layout." As she spoke, she led Chen Hao on a tour of the first floor, the living room, dining room, kitchen, guest bathroom. She tried to guide Chen Hao's gaze away from corners where she might have kept her things, such as a storage cabinet or the wardrobe in the master bedroom where she had kept a few clothes. She pretended to introduce the room's functions and layout naturally, but her mind was entirely focused on how to cover it up. Fortunately, since it was Chen Hao's first time viewing the house, he focused mainly on the overall structure, lighting, decoration, and size of the space, without paying particular attention to some details. With Zhang Shuiao's excellent concealment, he was even more satisfied with the interior of the villa as he looked around, completely unaware of anything unusual. After touring all 3 floors, Chen Hao had already decided which place to visit. The interior design, spatial layout, lighting, and ventilation all far exceeded his expectations. Back in the living room on the first floor, Ding Yakin was sitting on the sofa leisurely playing on her phone. Actually, she was exchanging messages with Zhang Shuiao to coordinate their story. Seeing them come down, she put down her phone and asked with a smile, "How is it, Chen Hao? Are you satisfied?" "Very satisfied." Chen Hao nodded affirmatively. The house was even better than he had imagined. "Sister Qin, could you tell me how much the monthly rent is for this villa?" As Ding Yakin had agreed with Zhang Shuiao beforehand, she said in a very casual tone, "The rent, 1,000 yuan a month will be fine." 1,000 yuan? Chen Hao thought he had misheard and repeated in surprise. "Sister Qin, are you sure it's 1,000 yuan?" He simply couldn't believe his ears. In a place like Shanghai, even sharing a single room in an old residential area with someone can cost 2,000 or 3,000 yuan a month. This is a 3-story villa in a great location, with luxurious decoration and a private courtyard. It's only $1,000? What's the difference between this and giving it away for free? Seeing Chen Hao's utterly shocked expression, Ding Yakin found it amusing, but on the surface, she maintained her calm demeanor as a rich woman who doesn't care about money, waved her hand, and explained. "That's right, it's 1,000 yuan. I have several other houses elsewhere. This one is just sitting empty anyway, so I'll just find a reliable person to look after it and make sure it doesn't fall into disrepair. Just a small token will suffice. It's mainly out of respect for Shuiao." Her words were reasonable, explaining why she wasn't short of money and also making it clear that she was giving Zhang Shuiao face, leaving no room for criticism. Although Chen Hao still felt that the rent was ridiculously cheap, like a windfall, Ding Yakin's explanation made sense. After all, he couldn't understand the thinking of rich people. "Thank you so much, cousin," Chen Hao said sincerely. In any case, finding such a great value apartment is definitely a stroke of luck. Chapter 29. I never expected my Shuiao to be such a closet pervert. The rent was set in such a bizarre way. Although Chen Hao felt that renting a villa for 1,000 yuan a month was practically free, he still felt that the basic procedures should be followed, so he said, "Sister Qin, shall we go to a print shop now and print out a rental contract? We can clearly write down the lease term, the rights and obligations of both parties, and make it more formal." Upon hearing this, Ding Yakin's heart skipped a beat. A contract? She didn't prepare this. She remained outwardly calm, waved her hand, and said with a very trusting air, "Oh, no need for all that trouble, no need for a contract. With Shuiao here to vouch for you, how could I not trust you? There's no need for all those rules and regulations, they make things seem distant." Seeing her say that, Chen Hao hesitated for a moment, then made another request. "Well, Sister Qin, would it be convenient for me to see the property certificate for this villa? I mainly want to confirm the ownership information, that's all." This was a reasonable suspicion in his subconscious about such a low rent. Ding Yakin inwardly cried out, "Oh no! The property certificate? The property certificate is in Zhang Xueyao's name. Wouldn't that immediately expose their deception?" She reacted quickly, immediately putting on a slightly apologetic smile, and explained, "Unfortunately, I didn't bring the property certificate with me today, it's in another house." She paused, her tone carrying just the right amount of joke and teasing, as she looked at Chen Hao. "What? You're afraid this house isn't mine? You think I'm lying to you?" Her question made Chen Hao a little embarrassed. Zhang Xueyao, who was standing nearby, quickly stepped forward to cover for Chen Hao, gently tugging at his arm and saying in a slightly coquettish tone, "Chen Hao, this house truly belongs to my cousin." "Would I lie to you? If you don't believe my cousin, don't you believe me too?" If Chen Hao insisted on going this far, it would seem too unreasonable and indeed a bit like judging a gentleman by one's own petty standards. He quickly shook his head and explained, "Sister Qin, Xueyao, please don't misunderstand, I absolutely did not mean to disbelieve you. I just asked out of habit. Since you didn't bring it, I won't look at it, it's okay." Seeing that Chen Hao was no longer asking questions, Ding Yakin and Zhang Xueyao both breathed a sigh of relief. Next, Chen Hao added Ding Yakin on WeChat and then transferred 3 months' rent, a total of 3,000 yuan, to her via WeChat. When Ding Yakin received the transfer, she looked at the insignificant number on the screen and felt both angry and amused. Her cousin was really ruining her own house for her boyfriend without any hesitation. However, the mission was successfully completed, and she didn't linger any longer, smiling as she said to Zhang Xueyao and Chen Hao, "Alright, I've collected the rent and given you the keys. I have something else to attend to, so I won't stand in your way and interfere with your plans for the future. I'll be leaving now." Zhang Xueyao blushed slightly at her teasing. Together with Chen Hao, they escorted Ding Yakin to the villa entrance and watched her get into the white luxury car and drive away. Once Ding Yakin's taillights disappeared at the intersection, the two turned around and returned to the spacious living room of the villa. The huge space was now empty except for the two of them, and it fell silent instantly. Chen Hao looked around the exquisitely decorated and fully furnished living room. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, he could see the well-maintained courtyard outside. He couldn't help but feel a strange sense of emotion and satisfaction. This is his and Xueyao's temporary home. A private space that belongs entirely to the two of them. No more worrying about the noise in the dormitory, no more caring about other people's opinions. He secretly resolved to work harder to earn money, and when he was able to, he would see if he could discuss with Ding Yakin about buying the villa, so that Xueyao and the child could have a stable home that truly belonged to them. At this moment, he was completely unaware that the villa originally belonged to his girlfriend. Zhang Xueyao had been secretly observing Chen Hao's expression. Seeing the joy and a sense of belonging to a family in his eyes, she felt a sweet warmth in her heart. She asked softly, "Chen Hao, do you like it here?" Chen Hao looked away, then at her, and nodded earnestly, I like it very much. The environment, space, and privacy here far exceeded his expectations. Zhang Xueyao's face lit up with a bright smile. She took a step forward, closer to Chen Hao, looked up at him with dreamy eyes, and spoke in an alluringly soft voice. "I like it here too, just like I like you." Before she finished speaking, she suddenly stood on tiptoe, wrapped her arms around Chen Hao's neck, and kissed his lips with a resolute passion. A soft, warm body suddenly entered his arms, and the girl's delicate fragrance wafted into his nostrils, causing Chen Hao's heart to pound violently. Almost instinctively, he tightened his arms around her slender waist and lowered his head to respond to the sudden, suggestive kiss. Unlike her previous shyness and tentative advances, Zhang Xueyao's kiss this time was unusually urgent and passionate, even carrying a hint of clumsy aggression. Her tongue probed lightly, and her breathing gradually became rapid. Chen Hao was caught off guard by her sudden enthusiasm, but his body was honestly aroused. Just as he was lost in passion, he felt Zhang Xueyao's restless little hands begin to hurriedly and somewhat frantically unbutton his shirt. 1, 2. Cool fingertips occasionally brushed against the skin on his chest, sending a shiver down his spine. Chen Hao was startled by her bold move, and his mind instantly cleared up. How could he not understand Zhang Xueyao's meaning? He just didn't expect that she, who usually seems so pure and reserved, would show such a passionate and unrestrained side in their private space. Although he himself was burning with desire, his blood surging, and a powerful urge to possess the girl in his arms was clamoring, his remaining rationality stubbornly reminded him. Xueyao is only 2 months pregnant. He has already checked online and found that the fetus is still very unstable at this stage and is in a dangerous period. He should try to avoid sexual intercourse in the early stages. No. Absolutely not. Just as Zhang Shuiao's fingers were about to unbutton his third button, and she was practically clinging to him, her eyes glazed, her red lips slightly parted, emitting an alluring soft moan. Chen Hao took a deep breath and, with great willpower, grabbed her misbehaving hand. Shuiao, wait, no. His voice was hoarse from suppressing his desire, but his eyes were unusually firm as he shook his head at her. Zhang Shuiao was just getting excited when he suddenly stopped her. A hint of confusion and grievance flashed in her eyes. She breathed softly and said with a touch of coquetry, "Be gentle, it's okay." "No." Chen Hao's attitude was firm. He cupped her face in his hands, making her look into his eyes, and explained solemnly, "I checked online and it said that the first 3 months of pregnancy are very important. We need to think about the baby and not take any risks. Be good, just bear with it a little longer, and wait until this period is over, okay?" Seeing the genuine concern and persistence in his eyes, Zhang Shuiao's feverish mind gradually calmed down. She knew Chen Hao was right, he was doing it for her and the child's good. Although the restlessness in my body was hard to calm down for a while, and I felt a little empty inside, I was more moved by being cherished and loved. She pouted, no longer insisting, but the flame in her body wasn't so easily extinguished. Her eyes were still watery as she looked at Chen Hao, filled with obvious longing. Looking at her charming yet slightly aggrieved appearance, Chen Hao felt both pity and amusement, while also feeling irresistibly aroused. He thought for a moment, then leaned close to her ear and whispered, "Although we can't do that, we can use other methods." Zhang Shuiao was stunned for a moment, then she understood the meaning behind his words. Her pretty face turned as red as if it were about to bleed, and even her ears and neck were tinged with pink. She buried her face in Chen Hao's chest in embarrassment, gently punched him, but did not object. So, in this quiet villa, except for the last step, the two explored almost every way that could comfort each other. The sounds of panting, suppressed moans, and the rustling of clothes echoed in the living room for a long time. It took an unknown amount of time before things gradually calmed down. Chen Hao leaned back on the soft sofa, holding Zhang Shuiao, who was also disheveled, or rather, almost naked, in his arms. Her skin glowed a beautiful pink as she lay languidly in his arms, breathing softly, with fine beads of sweat on her forehead. Chen Hao looked down at the girl in his arms, her charming appearance so different from her usual aloof demeanor, and couldn't help but chuckle. He gently stroked the tip of her pert nose with his fingertip and teased her. "I never expected. Our Shuiao, who is so reserved in public, is actually a little bit of a sly fox." Zhang Shuiao was still immersed in the lingering languor and satisfaction when she heard his teasing, and her already burning cheeks became even hotter. She was so ashamed she wanted to disappear, burying her burning face deep into Chen Hao's strong, warm chest, not daring to look at him, and letting out muffled, coquettish moans. You're so annoying. You're the one who's secretly a pervert." Chapter 30 Master Level Culinary Skills. They lingered in the villa for a long time, and before they knew it, it was almost noon. Zhang Shuiao leaned lazily against Chen Hao's chest, patted her slightly empty stomach, and said, "Chen Hao, shall we go out for lunch?" Chen Hao shook his head. He had already made up his mind and said to Zhang Shuiao very seriously, "I won't go out to eat. From now on, I'll cook for you whenever possible." He gently stroked Zhang Shuiao's still flat stomach, his eyes tender yet firm. "Restaurant food may be too oily, salty, and seasoned, and may not be healthy. You're now our family's darling, so your diet needs special attention. You have to eat healthily and have a balanced diet." Actually, Chen Hao decided to rent a place outside not only to take better care of Zhang Shuiao, but also for another very important reason. "I just hope to have a kitchen so I can cook for her myself, control the ingredients and seasonings, and ensure that she and the baby in her belly can eat the safest and healthiest meals." Hearing his words and seeing the genuine concern and meticulous consideration in his eyes, Zhang Shuiao was instantly filled with immense gratitude. She hadn't expected Chen Hao to have considered even such a small detail for her. She tilted her head up and kissed Chen Hao on the cheek, her voice choked with emotion and overflowing with happiness. "Chen Hao, you're so good to me. You're my girlfriend, and you'll be the mother of my children in the future. If I don't treat you well, who else should I treat well?" Chen Hao smiled and ruffled her hair. "Let's go, let's check what we need in the kitchen first, and then go to the supermarket to buy it." The two got up and straightened their somewhat disheveled clothes. Chen Hao was the first to enter the kitchen to check. The villa's kitchen is open plan, spacious, and modernly decorated, fully equipped with all kinds of kitchen utensils, cookware, and tableware, and everything looks brand new and high-end. The place was empty, clearly lacking ingredients and seasonings. "The kitchen utensils are quite complete, but there's nothing to cook," Chen Hao said to Zhang Shuiao after checking. Let's go to the nearby supermarket to buy some ingredients: oil, salt, soy sauce, and vinegar. Okay. Zhang Shuiao readily agreed, her heart filled with anticipation at the prospect of eating a meal cooked by Chen Hao himself. The two went out together, with Zhang Shuiao driving as usual and Chen Hao sitting in the passenger seat. The car headed toward a large supermarket nearby. On the way, Chen Hao took out his phone and started searching online for information such as nutritional meal recipes for early pregnancy and dishes suitable for pregnant women. He was born in the countryside. When he was a child, his parents were busy with farm work, so he learned to cook for himself at a very young age and has basic cooking skills. But since he had been eating in the cafeteria most of the time since starting university, he hadn't cooked properly in a long time, so his skills were inevitably rusty. Moreover, pregnant women have more refined dietary requirements, so he needed to relearn the techniques. He browsed the webpage carefully, looking at the suggestions on the combination of protein, folic acid, calcium, and vitamins, as well as the recipes for various light and nutritious dishes, and silently memorized them. Just as he was watching intently, mentally rehearsing the cooking steps and precautions, the familiar notification sound rang out again. Ding! Detected that the host has actively learned about cooking-related knowledge nutritional meals for pregnant women. Congratulations! You have accumulated 56 cooking skill experience points. Ding! Triggered a 10,000x return effect. You have received a 666x experience bonus. Refund calculation: 56.666 is equal to 37,296 experience points. Congratulations! Your cooking skill experience points are full, and your level has increased. Current cooking skill level: Master 37,296 100,000. A vast and profound body of culinary knowledge flooded into Chen Hao's mind like a tidal wave. It's not just about meals for pregnant women, it encompasses top-notch skills and experience in almost every culinary field, including Chinese cuisine, Western cuisine, pastries, knife skills, heat control, ingredient identification, and nutritional balance. His taste memory seemed to have been enhanced, allowing him to clearly recall the layers and combinations of various complex flavors. Master-level culinary skills. Chen Hao was stunned, holding his phone. He just looked up recipes for prenatal meals online, and it actually triggered the system. And he even received a 666x critical hit return, which directly boosted his cooking skills from beginner to master level? What does master-level culinary skill mean? This means that he can now casually create dishes that are comparable to those of a 5-star hotel chef in terms of color, aroma, taste, concept, and presentation. In some aspects, they may even be superior in their pursuit of the original flavor of ingredients and health concepts. This is such a pleasant surprise. That was awesome. He is now absolutely confident that he can cook delicious and healthy meals for Zhang Shuiao. While driving, Zhang Shuiao noticed that Chen Hao was looking down at his phone intently, so she casually asked, "Chen Hao, what are you looking at so intently?" Chen Hao snapped out of his daze of surprise, put down his phone, turned to Zhang Shuiao with a gentle yet confident smile, and said, "I looked up some recipes and instructions for making nutritious meals for pregnant women online. You are now more than 2 months pregnant, which is a critical period for your baby's development. You must pay attention to a balanced diet, ensuring you get enough protein, vitamins, and folic acid. This way, the baby will be born exceptionally healthy and intelligent." His tone was natural, full of concern and taken for granted. Listening to his words and seeing how meticulously he planned for her and her child, Zhang Shuiao was overwhelmed with emotion, like a flood bursting its banks. An indescribable sense of happiness and peace enveloped her. With one hand on the steering wheel, she couldn't help but reach out and gently grasp Chen Hao's hand with the other, her voice so soft it could melt water, tinged with a thick nasal tone. "Chen Hao, you're so good to me, so thoughtful, you even thought of these things, thank you." She felt incredibly fortunate that she had mustered the courage to tell Chen Hao about her pregnancy. This decision now seemed so right. She hadn't misjudged him, and Chen Hao hadn't disappointed her at all. He used his actions to gradually build up her confidence and sense of security about the future and her family. Chen Hao grasped her small hand tightly in return and smiled, "There's no need to thank me, it's all what I should do. From now on, you just need to focus on being beautiful and taking care of your pregnancy, while I'll focus on earning money to support the family and, incidentally, feeding you and the baby until you're both healthy and chubby. Get lost. Who wants someone who's fair and chubby?" Zhang Shuiao was amused by his words, gave him a playful glare, but her heart was overflowing with happiness. Chapter 31, You got my sister pregnant and now you want to deny it? Upon arriving at the supermarket, Zhang Shuiao skillfully parked her car in the underground garage. After they got out of the car, she naturally reached out and affectionately took Chen Hao's arm, and together they walked towards the supermarket entrance. Entering the brightly lit supermarket, where a wide variety of goods were on display, Chen Hao pushed his shopping cart. Instead of wandering aimlessly like ordinary customers, he headed straight for the fresh produce section. As he carefully selected the ingredients, he quietly explained to Zhang Shuiao beside him. Buy some pork ribs, make soup, it's good for calcium, and it's good for both you and your baby. Stock up on plenty of broccoli and spinach, as they are rich in folic acid and vitamins. Buy fish too, just steam it. It's high quality protein, and DHA is good for the baby's brain development. Eggs are a must, 1 or 2 a day. Buy some more high quality pork belly, we can make a light braised pork dish to supplement iron and protein. Choose fruits like apples, oranges, and kiwis, as they are high in vitamins. He could pick up each ingredient and explain its specific benefits for pregnant women, which made him appear professional and attentive. Zhang Shuiao followed beside him, watching his profile as he focused intently on selecting and explaining, her eyes filled with admiration and happiness. She couldn't help but praise him. Chen Hao, you know so much. You even know this. Chen Hao smiled and didn't explain further. He couldn't very well say that his newly upgraded master-level culinary skills came with nutritional knowledge. This duo was quite eye-catching in the supermarket. Although Chen Hao was dressed casually, he exuded a calm and composed demeanor, while Zhang Shuiao was exceptionally beautiful and had a slender figure. Even in a simple dress, she couldn't hide her status as a campus beauty. Many male customers around were surprised to see Zhang Shuiao, such an incredibly beautiful girl, so intimately linked arms with a seemingly ordinary-looking boy. She looked at him with admiration, her heart filled with a mixture of envy and resentment, her eyes brimming with jealousy and resentment as she gazed at Chen Hao. Chen Hao was completely unaware of this, or rather, he didn't care at all. His mind was entirely focused on how to prepare a healthy and delicious lunch for Zhang Shuiao. Soon, the shopping cart was filled with all sorts of carefully selected ingredients. Fresh ribs, lively sea bass, vibrant green broccoli and spinach, free-range eggs, premium pork belly, various fresh fruits, and essential seasonings such as oil, salt, soy sauce, and vinegar. I pushed a cart full of groceries to the checkout counter. The cashier scanned each item and then read out a number. Zhang Shuiao instinctively reached for her wallet to pay, but Chen Hao gently pressed her hand down. I'll do it. Chen Hao's tone was gentle but firm. He took out his phone and deftly scanned the code to pay. I told you, I'm capable of supporting you now. Seeing how matter-of-factly he paid the bill, Zhang Shuiao felt a surge of warmth in her heart. She was so moved that she couldn't speak, and obediently put away her wallet without insisting any further. It feels so good to be protected and cared for by him like this. I bought quite a lot of things, which filled 2 large plastic bags and looked quite heavy. Chen Hao picked up a bag in each hand and weighed it in his hand. Seeing this, Zhang Shuiao quickly reached out to help him carry one. Give me one, I'll help you carry one. No need. Chen Hao immediately stepped aside, his tone resolute and leaving no room for negotiation. You're under special protection now, how can you carry heavy things? This little thing is nothing to me, I can handle it. Seeing him unhesitatingly take all the weight on her shoulders, Zhang Shuiao stood there, her heart filled with sweetness, deeply moved. He always made her feel cherished and pampered through these small details. The two left the supermarket and returned to the dimly lit underground parking garage, where they found Zhang Shuiao's eye-catching red sports car. Chen Hao walked to the back of the car, preparing to open the trunk and put his things in. Just then, 5 people suddenly emerged from the shadows beside them. 4 men wearing tight vests, revealing their tattooed arms, and with fierce expressions, surrounded a young woman with a noticeably large pregnant belly, and walked straight toward them. The pregnant woman pointed at Chen Hao as soon as she saw him and shrieked in a shrill voice. Brother! It's him! He's the one who got me pregnant. Upon hearing this, the 4 menacing-looking men's eyes instantly turned fierce. Without saying a word, they rushed forward and formed a semi-encirclement, blocking Chen Hao and Zhang Shuiao, who were about to open the trunk, next to the car. Chen Hao's heart sank, and he immediately realized something was wrong. He reacted quickly, shoving the still somewhat dazed Zhang Shuiao towards the car door, and said urgently, Shuiao! Get in the car quickly. Lock the doors. However, the 4 men moved even faster, completely blocking their routes to get into the car and back, and firmly surrounding them. One of the burly men, with a shaved head and a thick gold chain around his neck, was clearly the leader. He stepped forward, almost touching Chen Hao's face, his eyes wide with anger, pointing a finger at the sobbing, pregnant woman, spitting almost onto Chen Hao's face, and roared viciously. You little bastard! You got my sister pregnant! Tell me! What are we going to do now? Chen Hao was stunned by the sudden accusation. He subconsciously glanced at the pregnant woman who was covering her face with her hands and shaking her shoulders as if she was crying. He was 100% certain that he didn't know this woman at all. I've never even seen one before. Standing behind Chen Hao, Zhang Xueyo's heart skipped a beat when she heard the bald man's words and saw the woman who was indeed pregnant. Her face turned pale instantly. She looked at the strange woman in disbelief, then at Chen Hao, and a thought that made her uneasy popped into her head uncontrollably. Could it be that Chen Hao really has another woman outside? And got her pregnant? The thought tore at her heart, making it difficult for her to breathe. Are you sure you haven't mistaken me for someone else? Chen Hao frowned, calmly explaining. I don't know her at all. Her pregnancy has nothing to do with me. Bullshit. The bald man became even angrier when Chen Hao denied it, and grabbed Chen Hao by the collar. You slept with my sister and now you want to deny it? No way. My sister accused you herself, how could it be false? The other three men also gathered around, pointing their fingers at Chen Hao and cursing him angrily. What a scumbag! He dares to do it but not admit it. You look so respectable, but I never expected you to be this kind of scum. You're not leaving until you give me an explanation. The pregnant woman they called Little Sister was now completely absorbed in her dramatic act, crying even louder as she pounded her stomach, screaming in a shrill voice. I don't want to live anymore. I really don't want to live. He tricked me into having sex, and now he's denying it. I might as well just die. Chapter 32. You're not pregnant at all, this belly is fake. The bald, burly man grabbed Chen Hao by the collar and wouldn't let go, while another man with a buzz cut and a face full of scars pretended to help the crying, pregnant woman, gruffly comforting her. Don't be afraid, little sister. Today, your brothers will definitely get justice for you. We won't let this heartless man get away. At this moment, a third man wearing sunglasses pulled a photo from his pocket, shoved it in front of Chen Hao's face, almost touching his nose, and demanded in a stern voice. Kid! You dare say you don't know my sister? Look! Isn't that you in the photo, hugging her? Huh? Chen Hao looked closely and saw that the photo indeed showed a man who looked almost exactly like him, intimately embracing a young woman's shoulder, both of them smiling brightly at the camera. And the woman's face was none other than the crying, pregnant woman in front of them. Zhang Xueyo, who had been trying to remain calm, felt her mind go blank when she saw this ironclad evidence, and her face turned even paler. Could it be that Chen Hao really knows this woman? Did they really date before? That photo doesn't look fake. Chen Hao stared at the photo, his brow furrowed, his mind racing. He was 100% certain that he had never taken such a photo with this woman. His memory is accurate. This photo is fake. Chen Hao said firmly, his voice calm and powerful. It's either photoshopped or generated using AI technology. I've never taken a photo with her. You're talking nonsense. Upon hearing this, the pregnant woman, like a cat whose tail had been stepped on, suddenly raised her head, pointed at Chen Hao with teary eyes, and called out his name in a shrill voice. Chen Hao! You heartless bastard! You showered me with sweet words when you were pursuing me, and now that I'm pregnant, you want to dump me? If you really don't want me and the child anymore, I'll die right here today. I don't want the child anymore. While she was crying and screaming at the top of her lungs, she suddenly started slapping her swollen belly hard with her palms, as if she had lost control of her emotions. Sister! Don't do this. Stop it. He's not worth it for a scumbag like that. Two men who claimed to be her brothers immediately stepped forward to stop her, grabbing her arms, making the scene appear chaotic and tragic. When Zhang Xueyo heard that the woman could accurately call out Chen Hao's name, her heart sank even further, and a chill ran up from the soles of her feet. Knowing the name, that seems to increase the credibility of the matter. Could all of this be true? Chen Hao really betrayed himself? However, reason told her that, based on her understanding of Chen Hao, he was not the kind of person who played with emotions or was irresponsible. He is so serious and cherishes himself and his future children so much. Which one is the real one? Zhang Xueyo was in a state of utter confusion. She stood there, feeling her hands and feet grow cold. The commotion had already attracted the attention of other car owners and pedestrians in the underground parking garage, and a crowd of onlookers slowly gathered around. Listening to the four men's indignant accusations and seeing the pregnant woman's heartbroken appearance, they were already convinced of 7 or 8 parts of the truth. TSK, he looks like a spirited young man. I never expected him to be this kind of person. She got someone pregnant and then denied it. What a scumbag. Girl, you're so beautiful, don't let this scumbag fool you. Leave him as soon as possible. Exactly. I can't have an irresponsible man like that. A chorus of accusations and discussions arose from the crowd, with all fingers pointing at Chen Hao, and some even starting to persuade Zhang Shuiao. Despite the pointing fingers and whispers of the crowd, Chen Hao remained calm, but his mind was racing with analysis. He was now almost certain that this group of people had deliberately set him up. There is a very high possibility that they were instructed by someone. Just moments ago, as the pregnant woman emotionally patted her stomach, Chen Hao, with the keen observation skills honed by his master-level Tai Chi abilities, noticed an extremely subtle anomaly. When the woman patted her abdomen, the sound of her palms touching her stomach was somewhat muffled, unlike the sound of patting real, elastic flesh. Moreover, although the force of her slapping seemed very strong, her core body did not lean back or tighten as a result of the force, and the shape of her protruding abdomen also appeared somewhat stiff and unnatural. A bold guess instantly popped into his mind. Chen Hao abruptly pointed at the pregnant woman who was still crying, his voice booming and carrying an undeniable force, and shouted. You're not pregnant at all. That belly of yours is fake. It's padded. These words were like a thunderclap out of nowhere, instantly silencing the noisy scene for a moment. The pregnant woman was so frightened by the sudden accusation that her crying stopped abruptly. A flicker of panic and guilt flashed uncontrollably in her eyes, though she immediately covered her face and burst into tears again, her voice even more miserable. You're spouting nonsense. Chen Hao, you're saying such things just to deny what you did wrong. My life is so miserable, I don't want to live anymore. But that moment of panic did not escape Chen Hao's eyes, who had been watching her intently. It didn't escape Zhang Shuiao's eyes either, as Chen Hao's words rekindled a glimmer of hope. What nonsense are you spouting? How dare you slander my sister? You're asking for it. Seeing that things seemed to be exposed, the four men became even more agitated, shouting and trying to cover up the truth and change the subject with louder voices and a more aggressive attitude. Enraged, the bald, burly man cursed and swung his fist, as big as a clay pot, straight at Chen Hao's face with a whooshing sound. That punch was fast and hard, clearly from someone who fights often. Chen Hao, watch out! Zhang Shuiao cried out in fright. However, Chen Hao, who now possesses master-level Tai Chi skills, has a completely different reaction time and body coordination than before. In his eyes, the bald, muscular man's seemingly swift punch had a clear trajectory and obvious flaws. He remained calm and composed, his feet shifting slightly, his body arching back like a willow catkin carried by the force of the punch. At the same time, his left hand, like a nimble snake emerging from its hole, seemingly gently touched and guided the burly man's wrist. Call! The bald, burly man felt as if his fist had struck empty air. An inexplicable force pulled his arm forward, causing him to stumble and lose his balance, almost causing him to fall over. He staggered a couple of steps before barely managing to steady himself. He turned around and looked at Chen Hao, who was still standing calmly in the same spot, with a look of astonishment and uncertainty, as if he had seen a ghost. This kid, he's weird. Chapter 33, A Twist of Fate, The Truth Revealed. Chen Hao's mind raced, and he instantly understood the key to breaking the deadlock. To expose these people's slander as quickly as possible, we must reveal the truth about the pregnant woman's fake pregnancy on the spot. After dodging the seemingly fierce but actually clumsy punch from the bald giant, he didn't pause at all. As swift as a cheetah, he shifted his feet and charged directly towards the pregnant woman who was still covering her face and crying. The bald, burly man missed his punch and, seeing Chen Hao lunge at his sister, immediately realized something was wrong and hurriedly yelled at his 3 accomplices. Quick! Stop this kid! Don't let him touch my sister! He's trying to kill her to silence her! Upon hearing this, the other 3 men immediately lunged forward menacingly, trying to block Chen Hao's path. They either threw punches or stretched out their arms to block, trying to trap Chen Hao. However, Chen Hao, who possesses master-level Tai Chi skills, moves with the agility of a swimming fish and his footwork is mysterious. He merely slumped his shoulders slightly, and his body, as if boneless, slid through the gap between the 2 burly men at an incredible angle. Faced with the incoming fist, he neither met it head-on nor retreated. Instead, he simply flicked his wrist, gently lifting and pushing the man's elbow. The man suddenly felt a subtle force coming from him, and his arm involuntarily changed direction, almost hitting his accomplice next to him. The three burly men were in a flurry of activity, but they couldn't even touch the hem of Chen Hao's clothes. They could only watch helplessly as he slipped through their encirclement like an eel. The woman pretending to be pregnant was terrified when she saw Chen Hao charging towards her like a demon. Forget about her cries and complaints, she screamed, turned around, and tried to run away from the crowd, continuing her slanderous accusations as she ran. He's hitting her. This scumbag is going to hit a pregnant woman. Help! Her shout swayed the uninformed onlookers, who then joined in the condemnation. This is outrageous. They actually tried to lay a hand on a pregnant woman. Are you even a man? Can't you talk things out properly? Stop him. Protect the pregnant woman. Even Zhang Shuiyo frowned and her palms were sweating as she watched, not understanding why Chen Hao was so insistent on pursuing a pregnant woman. Wouldn't this just give people more ammunition to criticize him? Chen Hao ignored all the accusations and obstacles. His goal was crystal clear. He pushed off with his feet and caught up with the woman in the maternity dress who ran without any clumsiness. His right hand moved like lightning and grabbed her arm firmly. What are you doing? Let go of me. This is indecent assault. The woman was terrified, her face turning pale. She struggled desperately, shouting incoherently. Chen Hao's eyes were icy cold, ignoring her screams. His left hand moved with lightning speed, lifting the hem of her loose maternity dress and reaching inside to grab her. Upon handling it, it indeed felt soft, fluffy, and round. Without hesitation, he pulled hard. With a soft rip sound, he pulled a thick, round sponge pad directly out of the woman's clothes. In an instant, the woman's originally high-rising pregnancy belly deflated like a punctured balloon, revealing her flat abdomen and normal waistline. The truth has come out. Chen Hao disgustedly threw the still warm sponge mat on the ground, glanced around at the stunned onlookers, and his voice clearly echoed throughout the entire underground parking garage. Everyone saw it clearly. She wasn't pregnant at all. This was all a scam they staged themselves to frame me. A deathly silence fell over the scene, followed by a huge uproar. My God! Is this for real? This belly is actually padded? We've all been scammed. These people are professional con artists. I almost wronged an innocent person. How despicable. Damn it, they actually resorted to such despicable tactics to slander people. The onlookers who had just been accusing Chen Hao of being a scumbag now felt ashamed and, more than anything, angry at being deceived. They turned their anger towards the fake pregnant woman and her four brothers. Seeing the sponge mat that had fallen to the ground in the woman's instantly flattened abdomen, Zhang Shuiyo's heart, which had been hanging in suspense, finally settled down, and she let out a long sigh of relief. She watched Chen Hao's retreating figure, her eyes filled with lingering fear, relief, and deep trust. As expected, Chen Hao hadn't lied to her. These people were just too despicable. When the four men saw that their carefully crafted scam had been exposed on the spot, they became furious and ashamed. They could no longer maintain their righteous appearance of standing up for their sister and revealed their true, ferocious nature. Damn it! You're asking for it, kid. Cripple him. Attack together. The bald, burly man roared, and the four of them pounced on Chen Hao at the same time, like enraged wild dogs. Fists and kicks whistled through the air, attacking Chen Hao's vital points from different directions. Judging from this, they're planning to take drastic measures. If it were the old Chen Hao, facing an attack from four burly men who were clearly used to fighting, he would probably only be able to take the beating. But at this moment, despite his master-level Tai Chi skills, he remained calm and composed in the face of this seemingly fierce attack. He moved with a mysterious footwork, his figure swaying like a willow in the wind, always managing to evade the core force of an attack at the last second. Instead of taking the punch head-on, he wrapped his arm around the opponent's wrist like a vine, and with a gentle pull, guided the punch. The bald, burly man felt an immense force pulling him forward, causing him to slam hard into the door of a car next to him with a loud thud, making him grimace in pain. Someone kicked from his side and behind, but Chen Hao seemed to have eyes in the back of his head. He twisted his waist slightly and dodged the blow. At the same time, his elbow struck the opponent's calf tendon with precision, like a venomous snake striking its prey. The man cried out ouch, and hopped up on one leg, clutching his leg, his face contorted in pain. Another person launched a sneak attack from the side, but Chen Hao simply executed a cloud hand movement, his arm arcing out and seemingly gently resting on the opponent's arm. The man felt as if his entire arm had been caught in a whirlpool, completely out of his control. He was spun around in place, feeling dizzy and almost fell to the ground. Seeing that 3 of his companions had fallen in an instant, the last man became vicious, pulled a small dagger from his pocket, and stabbed it menacingly at Chen Hao's waist. "Chen Hao, watch out!" Zhang Xueya cried out in alarm, her heart pounding. Chen Hao's eyes narrowed, and just as the dagger was about to reach him, his body moved like a ghost to the side, dodging the blade. At the same time, his right hand moved with lightning speed, accurately grabbing the opponent's wrist, holding the knife and squeezing it hard. "Ah!" The man screamed in agony, feeling as if his wrist was being clamped by iron clamps. The pain was unbearable. His fingers loosened, and the dagger clattered to the ground. With a quick flick of his wrist, Chen Hao sent the man flying like a kite with a broken string. He rolled several times on the ground before stopping, groaning, and unable to get up. In less than 2 minutes, the 4 burly men who had been so aggressive just moments before were now all lying on the ground. Some clutched their wrists, some hugged their legs, and some rubbed their sore shoulders, screaming in pain as they looked at Chen Hao with eyes full of fear and disbelief. "This guy looks so weak and unassuming, how come he's so terrifying when he fights?" Those seemingly slow movements contained a power that they could neither comprehend nor resist. Chen Hao stepped forward, stomping on the chest of the bald, burly man who was trying to get up, forcing him back to the ground. Looking down at him, his eyes were sharp as knives, his voice icy. "Speak! Who sent you here? Chapter 34. Who exactly ordered you to do this?" Just as Chen Hao subdued the bald, burly man and questioned him sternly, in an inconspicuous corner of the underground parking garage, a black luxury sedan slowly rolled up its window. Inside the car, Su Kaiyang's face was ashen, his fists clenched so tightly that his nails almost dug into his palms. The 4 groaning good-for-nothings on the ground, and the fake pregnant woman who fled in panic, were all pawns he paid to hire and carefully designed to ruin Chen Hao's reputation. His original plan was quite elaborate, to solidify Chen Hao's image as a scumbag who got someone pregnant and then refused to take responsibility in front of Zhang Xueya, thus completely destroying Chen Hao's image in Zhang Xueya's mind. But to everyone's surprise, Chen Hao was not only quick-witted and saw through the fake pregnancy at a glance, but also incredibly skilled. The 4 burly men who were always fighting were as fragile as paper in front of him, utterly helpless. "Damn it! Useless! A bunch of useless trash!" Su Kaiyang cursed under his breath, his heart filled with resentment and jealousy. Looking at Chen Hao's tall figure in the distance, and Zhang Xueya standing by the car, clearly relieved, her gaze returning to Chen Hao with concern and lingering fear, he felt a surge of anger burning through his internal organs. He slammed his fist into the expensive leather seat, knowing that he had completely lost this round and there was no point in staying any longer. He glared venomously at Chen Hao and Zhang Xueya one last time, started the car, and silently drove away from the underground parking garage that had caused him such a loss of face. In the center of the basement, Chen Hao's foot was still planted on the bald, burly man's chest, and he repeated the question in an icy tone, "Speak! Who exactly ordered you to do this?" The bald, burly man was panting heavily from being trampled, his face contorted with pain and fear. He frantically begged for mercy, brother, have mercy. We'll talk. We'll talk." He was panting heavily as he explained in broken sentences. We don't know who the employer is, he contacted us online. They gave us a deposit through encryption software, and several photos of you, and photos of that woman. And the script that slanders you, let's act according to the script, there will be a final payment after it's all done. We've never actually met him, we don't even know if he's a man or a woman. Chen Hao frowned, his sharp eyes fixed on the bald man's eyes, observing the most subtle changes in his facial expressions and gaze. With his extraordinary insight, he judged that the guy was unlikely to be lying in this state. He then interrogated the other 3 burly men groaning on the ground, and their answers were all similar. They had contacted each other anonymously online, were paid to do things, and had no idea of the true identity of the mastermind. The trail seems to have ended here. Chen Hao was secretly annoyed. Who was behind this, using such underhanded tactics to deal with him? Only then did he remember the fake pregnant woman. He turned his head and looked, but the woman was nowhere to be seen. He must have been terrified while he was dealing with those 4 big men and had secretly slipped away. But even if the monk runs away, the temple can't hide. Without hesitation, Chen Hao immediately took out his phone and called the police. Not long after, the sound of sirens grew louder as several police officers arrived at the scene. Chen Hao, Zhang Xueya, and several bystanders who were willing to testify briefly explained the situation to the police and gave their statements. The police looked at the 4 burly men on the ground who were clearly not good people but were now in a sorry state, and then at the calm and composed Chen Hao and the outstandingly beautiful Zhang Xueya, and roughly understood what was going on. They handcuffed the 4 burly men who were still groaning and put them in a police car. As for the fake pregnant woman who escaped, the police said they would do their best to apprehend her. This unexpected turmoil has finally come to a temporary end. The crowd gradually dispersed, and the underground parking garage returned to calm. Chen Hao and Zhang Xueyao returned to the red sports car. Closing the car door and shutting out the outside world, Zhang Xueyao's tense nerves finally relaxed completely. She let out a long sigh and patted her chest with lingering fear. That was really close. She turned her head, her beautiful eyes filled with disbelief, and looked Chen Hao up and down as if she were seeing him for the first time. Chen Hao, your skills, when did you become so amazing? You took on 4 burly men with weapons all by yourself, and it was so easy for you? She saw the burly man pull out a dagger with her own eyes. Her heart was in her throat. Chen Hao fastened his seatbelt, smiled, and explained using an excuse he had already prepared. It's nothing, I was just bored at home during the summer vacation, so I learned some Tai Chi from an old man in the village. I didn't expect it to actually come in handy today. Tai Chi? Zhang Xueyao was even more puzzled, blinking her big eyes. Tai Chi, isn't that the kind of exercise old men and women do in parks? It's slow and doesn't seem to have much fighting power? Why is your Tai Chi so amazing? She recalled Chen Hao's movements, which were as smooth as flowing water yet contained the power of thunder, and felt that they were completely different from the Tai Chi she knew. Chen Hao remained unfazed and continued to cover up his lie. Maybe the one I learned is a little different. The old man who taught me said it was an ancient style that emphasized practical application of force. I didn't take it seriously before, I just practiced casually, but I didn't expect it to be so effective. He deliberately spoke vaguely. Hearing him say that, Zhang Xueyao still found it somewhat unbelievable. But considering the various miracles Chen Hao has recently demonstrated, amazing memory, stock market insight, programming speed, it seems that adding traditional Tai Chi to the list wouldn't be so unacceptable. She nodded, a look of realization and admiration on her face. So that's how it is. That old man must be a reclusive master. You really owe a lot to your skills today. She stopped dwelling on the issue, started the car, and slowly drove out of the underground parking garage. Just as the car merged into the street traffic, the familiar and pleasant notification sound rang in Chen Hao's mind again. Ding! Detected that the host has successfully applied Tai Chi in combat and achieved victory. Congratulations! You have accumulated 101 Tai Chi experience points. Ding! Triggered 1000x return effect. You will receive a 1000x experience bonus this time. Refund calculation, 101 points 1000 is equal to 101,000 experience points. Congratulations! Your Tai Chi skill experience points are full, and your level has increased. Current Tai Chi skill level, Grandmaster 101,001 million. A more powerful and profound martial arts essence entered Chen Hao's consciousness and body like a sudden enlightenment. It's not just about the exquisite moves, but also about the flow of energy, the ability to sense the opponent's energy, and even a fighting philosophy of the striking first after the opponent has moved and overcoming strength with softness. He felt that his physical coordination and control over his strength had reached a whole new level. Grandmaster level Tai Chi. Chen Hao was overjoyed beyond containment. This means that his current combat ability has undergone a qualitative leap. Not to mention those 4 thugs, he was absolutely confident that he could defeat even a professionally trained boxer, fighter, or so-called champion. This is no longer just a self-defense skill, but a truly masterful and top-tier martial art. This system always provides him with the most timely and powerful assistance whenever he needs it. This is so awesome. Chapter 35 Master-Level Driving Skills and Culinary Arts. The car drove smoothly back to the villa. Zhang Xueyao gripped the steering wheel, recalling the thrilling scene in the underground parking garage. She still felt a lingering fear, but was also amazed by Chen Hao's keen observation skills. She couldn't help but ask curiously, Chen Hao, how did you figure out so quickly that the woman was faking her pregnancy? I was completely fooled at first. Chen Hao smiled and explained, actually, the flaw was when she patted her stomach. If the woman is indeed pregnant, then forcefully patting her abdomen will definitely cause some subtle reactions in her body due to pain and instinctive protection. For example, her body will subconsciously pull back or tighten her core. But she didn't. The force of her patting looked heavy, but her center of gravity and posture were very stable, and the sound of her patting was somewhat muffled, not like she was patting her real belly. Furthermore, the fact that those 4 men appeared so deliberately made me even more suspicious. After listening, Zhang Xueyao suddenly realized and sincerely praised, your observation skills are so meticulous. I was so nervous and angry at the time that I didn't notice these details at all. Chen Hao felt a little pleased seeing the admiration in her eyes, but he still humbly said, "The main reason is that I know in my heart that I did not do such a thing at all, and they are slandering me. That's why we can observe more calmly and discover their flaws. If I had something to hide, I might panic and be led by the nose." His words were frank and sincere. Hearing this, Zhang Shuiyo was deeply moved. She nodded vigorously, looking at Chen Hao's profile with eyes full of unreserved trust and deepened affection. She increasingly felt that choosing Chen Hao was the best decision she had ever made in her life. As Chen Hao spoke with Zhang Shuiyo, his gaze naturally fell upon her movements as she controlled the vehicle. How to make smooth turns, how to precisely control the accelerator and brake to maintain a safe distance, how to use the rearview mirror to assess road conditions. During his seemingly casual observation, the notification sound in his mind unexpectedly appeared again. Ding! Host detected continuously observing others performing driving operations. Congratulations! You have accumulated 138 driving experience points. Ding! Triggered a 10,000x return effect. You have received an 888x experience bonus. Refund calculation: 138 points 888 times equals 122,544 experience points. Congratulations! Your driving skill experience points are full, and your level has increased. Current driving skill level: Master 122,544 1 million. A vaster and more profound driving knowledge and instinct merge instantly. It's not just about driving on ordinary roads, it also includes handling extreme road conditions, controlling high-performance vehicles, racing skills, and even some special driving techniques. All of these are imprinted on his nerve reflexes and muscle memory as if they were innate. Master-level driving skills. Chen Hao was overjoyed. This improvement speed is too fast. This means that he is now a true car god. There are probably very few people on Earth who can rival him in driving skills. Whether it's an F1 track or a complex mountain road, he can handle it with ease and confidence. This system truly brings surprises anytime, anywhere. Not long after, Zhang Shuiyo drove the car back to the villa's garage. Chen Hao got out of the car, took out the 2 large bags of heavy ingredients from the trunk, and walked into the villa with Zhang Shuiyo. "Shuiyo, why don't you rest on the sofa in the living room for a while, watch TV or play on your phone?" Chen Hao said to Zhang Shuiyo as he placed the groceries on the kitchen island. "I'll go cook, it'll be ready soon." Zhang Shuiyo nodded obediently, walked to the sofa and sat down, but did not turn on the TV. Instead, she rested her chin on her hands, watching Chen Hao's busy figure in the kitchen with a sweet anticipation in her heart. Suddenly remembering something, she stood up again, quickly walked to the kitchen doorway, tiptoed, and gave Chen Hao a quick kiss on the cheek. Then, blushing, she whispered, "This is a reward for you. Keep it up." Chen Hao was taken aback by her sudden attack, but then felt a warmth in his heart and smiled as he touched the spot on his face where he had been kissed. "Don't worry, just wait for the feast." Zhang Shuiyo then returned to the sofa, satisfied. Chen Hao turned and walked into the spacious and bright kitchen. He first sorted the ingredients that needed to be refrigerated, such as ribs, fish, and pork belly, and put them into the refrigerator. Then he took out the parts he would use for lunch today: fresh sea bass, carefully selected spare ribs, and bright green broccoli. After tying on an apron and turning on the tap to wash his hands, Chen Hao's eyes instantly became focused. The first dish, steamed sea bass with egg white filling. His movements as he prepared the sea bass were fluid and efficient. He scaled, gutted, and cleaned the fish, making a few cuts on both sides of the fish to help it absorb the flavors. His technique was precise and swift. After marinating the ingredients briefly with scallion segments, ginger slices, cooking wine, and a little salt, he started boiling water in a pot. Once the water boils, place the fish plate into the steamer and cover it with the lid. His masterful culinary skills make controlling the heat almost instinctive, ensuring that the fish reaches its freshest and most tender state in the shortest amount of time. While waiting for the fish to steam, he prepared very fine shredded scallions, ginger, and red peppers. After the fish was steamed, he drained the excess liquid from the plate, removed the steamed scallions and ginger, and replaced it with fresh scallion, ginger, and chili strips. Then heat a small spoonful of oil and pour it over the shredded fish with a sizzling sound, instantly releasing a rich aroma. Finally, drizzle with an appropriate amount of steamed fish soy sauce. A steamed sea bass with tender, white flesh like a lotus flower and a light, delicious flavor is ready. The second dish, braised pork ribs with chestnuts. He chopped the ribs into even pieces, blanched them to remove the blood foam, and set them aside. Heat a wok, add a small amount of rock sugar, and stir fry until it turns a beautiful dark red color. Then add the drained ribs and stir fry quickly so that each rib is evenly coated with the caramelized sugar. Add scallion segments, ginger slices, and star anise and stir fry until fragrant. Add cooking wine, light soy sauce, and dark soy sauce for seasoning and color. Pour in enough boiling water to cover the ribs, add a small handful of shelled cooked chestnuts, bring to a boil over high heat, then reduce to a simmer. During this process, the aroma of the pork ribs and the sweetness of the chestnuts slowly blend together, filling the entire kitchen. The third dish, blanched two-color vegetables. This dish emphasizes the original flavor and crisp texture of the ingredients. He broke the broccoli into small florets and washed the spinach. Bring water to a boil in a pot, add a little salt and a few drops of oil. This helps keep the vegetables bright green. Blanch the broccoli until just cooked, then remove it and quickly put it into ice water to cool it down, in order to keep it crisp. Next, add the spinach and blanch it briefly before removing it and cooling it in cold water. Drain the blanched broccoli and spinach and arrange them neatly on a plate. He took a small pot, added a little soy sauce, oyster sauce, water and a pinch of sugar, and boiled it to make a simple sauce, which he then poured directly over the vegetables. Finally, chop some garlic and dried chili peppers and place them on top of the vegetables. Heat some oil and pour it over the vegetables. With a sizzle, the aroma of garlic and a slightly spicy fragrance wafts out. The three dishes, one meat and one vegetable, were a perfect balance of meat and vegetable. They included steaming, braising, and stir-frying, with a light yet never monotonous flavor and a pleasing color combination, perfectly meeting the nutritional and taste needs of pregnant women. Just as Chun Hao finished plating the last blanched two-colored vegetables and was about to clean up the stove, the familiar notification sound in his mind rang out like a final reward. Ding! Host detected engaging in cooking practice cooking dishes. Congratulations! You have accumulated 115 cooking skill experience points. Ding! Triggered a 10,000x return effect. You have received a 1999x experience bonus. Refund calculation: 115 points 1,999 times equals 229,885 experience points. Congratulations! Your cooking skill experience points are full, and your level has increased. Current cooking skill level: Master 229,885 1 million. A vast and profound knowledge of cooking techniques, an ultimate understanding of the original flavors of ingredients, exquisite control over the heat, and even inspiration to create entirely new cuisines, all flooded in like a tidal wave. His sense of taste seemed to have been elevated once again, enabling him to distinguish the most subtle layers of flavor. Master-level culinary skills. Chen Hao was overjoyed beyond words. He only made 3 dishes and jumped directly from master level to grandmaster level. This means that his culinary skills are no longer just comparable to those of a 5-star hotel chef, but have truly reached the legendary level of establishing his own school and being able to surpass the vast majority of so-called famous chefs. Chapter 36: Tofu cut into strips? That knife skill is amazing. After preparing the 3 delicious and visually appealing dishes, Chen Hao did not stop. He plans to make another soup that tests his knife skills and cooking time: Wensi tofu. He took out a piece of smooth silken tofu and placed it on the cutting board. Holding the knife in his right hand and gently supporting the tofu with his left, his gaze was focused, and his breathing became steady and long. The next moment, he flicked his wrist, and the blade flashed like soft snowflakes, the movement so fast that it almost left after images, yet it carried a strange sense of rhythm. The tofu, so soft and tender that it seemed it would crumble at the slightest touch, was actually cut into even, uniformly thin strips, each so fine they could be threaded through a needle, under his knife. The entire process was smooth and seamless, without the slightest pause, as if it were not cutting fragile tofu, but rather engaging in a delicate artistic creation. Just then, Zhang Xueyao, unable to sit still due to the enticing aromas wafting from the kitchen, couldn't resist walking over out of curiosity. She had just reached the kitchen doorway when she happened to see Chen Hao finishing up his amazing tofu cutting process. Watching the tofu slowly disperse in the clear water, each strand distinct and as thin as a hair, Zhang Xueyao's beautiful eyes widened instantly, her mouth slightly agape, completely stunned. My God! Chen Hao, your knife skills! She pointed at the tofu strips in the basin, her voice stammering with extreme shock. Tofu can be cut into such thin strips? This is unbelievable. Your knife skills are amazing. She comes from a wealthy family and has naturally met many chefs, but she has only ever seen tofu cut into such even and fine strips in top-notch food documentaries. The impact of witnessing it firsthand in real life is simply too strong. Chen Hao gently placed the sliced tofu into the water to soak, then turned to Zhang Shuiao and smiled, his tone as calm as ever. Practice makes perfect, it's nothing special. You call this nothing serious? Zhang Shuiao felt that Chen Hao was being overly modest. Next, Chen Hao started preparing the side dishes. Mushrooms, bamboo shoots, cooked chicken breast, ham. Under his masterful knife skills, these ingredients were also quickly cut into even, thin strips that matched the tofu strips. The whole process was lightning fast, the movements were fluid and graceful, with an indescribable beauty and skill that dazzled Zhang Shuiao, and her admiration for him was like a surging river. She couldn't help but step forward and gently hugged Chen Hao's waist from behind. She pressed her soft, supple breasts tightly against his strong, broad back, rubbing her cheek against his back in blissful pleasure, and sighed softly. Chen Hao, you're amazing, I feel like you can do everything, and you do everything so well, even cooking is so cool. Feeling the warmth and soft touch on his back, and his girlfriend's undisguised adoration, Chen Hao felt a warmth in his heart. He freed one hand and gently patted the small hand wrapped around his waist, smiling as he said, "It's not as exaggerated as you say, I just know how to cook a few dishes." "It's not just a few dishes." Zhang Shuiao muttered behind him, then, as if remembering something, tilted her head back and asked in a slightly coquettish tone, "Chen Hao, those 3 dishes that are ready, can I have a bite first? They smell so good, I can't resist." "Of course, it was made for you anyway," Chen Hao readily agreed. Zhang Shuiao immediately cheered, let go of Chen Hao, and ran to the island counter like a happy little bird, picking up a pair of clean chopsticks. "I couldn't wait to pick up a small piece of tender meat from the belly of the steamed sea bass, carefully blew on it, and put it in my mouth." The moment the fish touched her tongue, her eyes lit up. The fish was so tender it almost melted on the tongue, with the perfect balance of salty and savory flavors from the steamed fish soy sauce and the complex aroma of scallions and ginger released by the hot oil. There was not a trace of fishiness, only ultimate freshness and smoothness. This is so delicious. Zhang Shuiao couldn't help but let out a satisfied sigh, giving Chen Hao a thumbs up, her face full of amazement. "Chen Hao, your steamed fish is absolutely amazing. It tastes even better than the 5-star hotel chef my dad hired to cook banquets at home." "Try some other things," Chen Hao said with a smile as he busied himself blanching the various shredded vegetables. Zhang Shuiao immediately picked up another piece of braised pork ribs with chestnuts. The pork ribs were stewed until tender and flavorful, the meat was succulent, the chestnuts were sweet and soft, and the rich sauce coated every piece of food. It was so delicious that she squinted her eyes. Then she took a bite of the blanched 2-color vegetables. The broccoli is crisp, the spinach is tender, and the simple dressing perfectly complements the natural sweetness of the vegetables. The aroma of minced garlic and dried chili, released by the hot oil, is the finishing touch, making it refreshing and not greasy. Every dish was a huge surprise for her. She couldn't hold back any longer and hugged Chen Hao tightly from behind again as he was thickening the sauce and preparing for the final step. She buried her face in his back, her voice muffled but filled with immense happiness and excitement. "Chen Hao, you're amazing. How can you cook something so delicious? Really? This is truly better than many 5-star chefs. I've never eaten such delicious and satisfying food in my entire life." As a heiress, she had tasted countless delicacies, but the seemingly ordinary dishes Chen Hao made completely won over her taste buds with their simple yet exquisite flavors. Chen Hao could feel her heartfelt joy, and he felt a sense of accomplishment as well. He said softly, "If you like it, eat more later." "Yes." Zhang Shuiao raised her head from behind him, nodded emphatically, her eyes shining as if she were making a vow. "I'm going to finish all the food today. Not a single bite will be left." She held Chen Hao in her arms, dreaming happily. "I feel so happy. I actually found a man who was such a great cook. Wouldn't that mean I could eat this delicious food every day from now on? Just thinking about it makes me so happy." At this moment, Chen Hao's Wensi tofu soup was also finished. He slowly poured the perfectly thickened, clear sauce into the pot, gently stirring it. Various colored strands floated gently in the clear broth. Like a fine work of art, it is finely garnished with a few sprigs of tender green cilantro. He served the 4 dishes one by one to the table. Zhang Shuiao had already obediently served 2 bowls of rice and set them out. The two sat facing each other under the warm light, with 4 dishes and a soup laid out on the table, each dish looking delicious and filling the air with the warmth of home and the aroma of the food. "Come on, try this Wensi tofu. Chen Hao carefully scooped up a spoonful of soup containing various fine strands, blew on it gently, and brought it to Zhang Shui's lips. A sweet blush spread across Zhang Shui's face as she opened her mouth and accepted her boyfriend's offer of food. The soup is smooth and refreshing, with various fine strands creating different textures that intertwine on the tongue. The flavor is light, fresh, and comforting, warming the stomach. Delicious. She squinted her eyes in satisfaction and immediately picked up a piece of rib that she thought was the best, holding it to Chen Hao's mouth. You eat too. You've worked hard. The two of them enjoyed the food, feeding each other, chatting and laughing, filling the restaurant with a warm and sweet atmosphere. At this moment, all the turmoil and troubles seemed to have left them behind, leaving only each other in this loving lunch. Chapter 37, Earn 960,000 from the game? After finishing a hearty lunch, Chen Hao neatly put the dishes into the dishwasher in the kitchen, then dried his hands and returned to the living room. Zhang Shui was leaning lazily against the soft sofa armrest when she saw Chen Hao approaching. She naturally reached out and pulled him to sit down beside her. Then, like a kitten dependent on its owner, she naturally hugged his arm, comfortably rested her head on his shoulder, and her face was filled with the satisfaction of being full and the blissful glow of being immersed in love. Chen Hao smiled and put his arm around her shoulder, while taking out his phone with his other hand. He was thinking about the optimized version of Fengshan Auto Chess that he uploaded yesterday, and wanted to see the market response and revenue. He first logged into the Steam developer backend, and the moment the data report loaded, his eyes widened slightly. He then immediately switched to the WeGame platform's backend. The data from the two platforms were rapidly superimposed and calculated in his mind. The final number he obtained filled him with excitement. The new version of the game has been uploaded for less than 24 hours, and after deducting the platform's share, the net revenue has already reached 690,000 renminbi. This growth rate is even faster than the first edition. He suppressed his excitement and carefully browsed the player comments section. Compared to cold, hard numbers, the vibrant feedback from players was much more encouraging to him. Holy crap! The author is awesome. The updates are amazing. The new UI is amazing. The character illustrations are so much more detailed. I'm definitely going to spend a lot of money. Although I can't seem to find the in-game purchase option. There are so many more levels. I've been playing all morning and still haven't finished it. It's so addictive. The newly added God of Wealth bond is so interesting. It's making the money-saving strategy a thing of the past. The balance has been adjusted well, it doesn't feel as over the top as the previous character. Please update. Please add more new heroes. Keep up the good work, author. This is the best indie game I've played this year, bar none. I've been following it since the first version, and it feels great to see the game improve little by little. Support the creator. With such a reasonable price and such solid content, is the author working on this out of pure passion? A friend recommended this to me, and it's truly amazing. I've already recommended it to everyone in my dorm. Overwhelmingly positive reviews. There are almost no negative reviews, all the comments are praise and encouragement for the game's graphics, content, and gameplay optimizations, as well as anticipation for future updates. As Chen Hao looked at these passionate words, the corners of his mouth unconsciously turned up. The sense of accomplishment he felt from seeing the results of his hard work and optimization efforts recognized by players was even more satisfying than seeing the revenue figures. What are you looking at? Why are you so happy? Zhang Shuiao, leaning on Chen Hao's shoulder, felt his body relax slightly and his breathing change. She looked up and asked curiously. She glanced at Chen Hao's phone screen, which appeared to be a data and comment interface. I'm looking at the game data. Chen Hao didn't hide anything, his tone carrying a hint of barely suppressed excitement. The new version uploaded yesterday seems to be working quite well. Really? How much money have you made? Zhang Shuiao immediately became interested, straightened up, and blinked her big eyes as she asked. She knew Chen Hao's games could make money, but she didn't know exactly how much. Chen Hao tilted his phone screen slightly toward her and pointed to the statistics on it, saying, the new version has brought in 690,000 in revenue so far. Adding to the 270,000 earned from the first edition, the game has currently earned a total of 960,000. 960,000? Zhang Shuiao was so shocked she almost jumped off the sofa. She snatched Chen Hao's phone and carefully reviewed the numbers displayed on the two platforms' backends. After confirming that everything was correct, she looked up at Chen Hao, her beautiful eyes filled with extreme shock and disbelief. 2 days, less than 2 days. 960,000? Her voice rose 8 octaves in shock. Chen Hao, You're insane. This speed at which you make money, you're a genius. A genius in game design. She came from a wealthy family and wasn't particularly sensitive to money itself, but she knew that a college student could create nearly $1 million in such a short time by developing a game single-handedly. The talent, vision, and execution ability behind this are truly astonishing. Overwhelmed with joy and pride, she was unable to contain her emotions. She put down her phone, cupped Chen Hao's face in her hands, her eyes shining brightly with admiration, love, and excitement. Without a word, she kissed Chen Hao's lips. The kiss carried the faint aroma of lingering food, but even more so, it carried her surging emotions. Chen Hao was taken aback by her sudden enthusiasm, but his heart was filled with a great sense of accomplishment and his girlfriend's unreserved admiration. He reached out and embraced her slender waist, responding to the joyful kiss with tenderness and depth. The temperature in the living room seemed to rise a few degrees, with only the sound of their breathing gradually merging. After cuddling and cuddling for a while, the two finally separated, panting. Zhang Xueyao's cheeks were flushed, her eyes sparkling. She leaned against Chen Hao's chest, her fingers unconsciously playing with the buttons on his shirt. Her face was filled with undisguised happiness and pride. All right, Chen Hao checked the time and gently patted her back. It's almost 2 p.m., we should pack up and go to school. We have classes this afternoon. Zhang Xueyao nodded obediently. Although she was reluctant to leave this cozy time for two, she still got up and tidied her slightly messy hair and clothes. The two tidied themselves up quickly and then went out together. Zhang Xueyao was still driving, and Chen Hao was sitting in the passenger seat. The car quickly drove into Shanghai University and came to a stop in the parking lot. The two had just gotten out of the car and hadn't walked far when they ran into Dong Letian, Baiyu, and Fan Xing, who were arm in arm and heading to the classroom. The three of them's eyes lit up as soon as they saw Chen Hao and Zhang Xueya get out of the car together, and they immediately showed that knowing, ambiguous smile on their faces. Dong Letian was the first to come forward, nudged Chen Hao hard with his elbow, and asked in a low voice with a wink. How's he? You're something else. Tell me honestly, you skipped all your classes this morning. Where did you go having fun with our school beauty Zhang? He. Baiyu also pushed up his glasses, his eyes behind the lenses filled with a mischievous smile. Looks like someone's extracurricular practice was quite fulfilling today. Fan Xing exaggeratedly made a sniffing motion and joked, I think I smell the stench of love. How GE, quickly share the battle situation. Zhang Xueyao blushed as they teased her, and lowered her head shyly, instinctively moving closer to Chen Hao. Chen Hao chuckled and scolded, playfully kicking Dong Letian, get lost. All you ever think about are unhealthy things. We're off to take care of serious business. Official business? What kind of official business would take all morning? Dong Letian clearly didn't believe him and continued to grin mischievously. Registering a company, renting a place, is that not allowed? Chen Hao was too lazy to explain further, and put his arm around Zhang Xueyao's shoulder. Let's go to class, or we'll be late. With that, he led Zhang Xueyao, ignoring the jeers and whistles coming from his three roommates behind him, and headed towards the teaching building. Zhang Xueyao nestled beside him, shy but with a sweet smile on her lips. Chapter 38 Becoming a Music Master Quickly. Upon hearing Chen Hao mention renting a house, Dong Lishan's curiosity was immediately piqued, and he pressed, renting a house? Howsy, why are you renting a house? Are you planning to move out of the dorm? Chen Hao knew that the fact that he and Zhang Xueya were moving out together couldn't be kept secret from their roommate, so he readily nodded and admitted, yes, Xueya and I are planning to move out together. Holy crap! Really? They're living together so soon? Howsy? You're pretty good. You're quick. Upon hearing this, Dong Letian, Baiyu, and Fan Xing immediately erupted in cheers, surrounding Chen Hao and Zhang Xueya with winks and teasing. Dong Letian punched Chen Hao and said enviously, wow, Howsy, you've managed to snag our school beauty Zhang for some alone time without a word. Now no one's going to bother us when we play games at night. Baiyu pushed up his glasses and analyzed seriously, from the perspective of behavioral science and social relations, cohabitation means that the relationship has entered a stable and in-depth development stage. Congratulations. Fan Xing then jokingly clutched his chest, feigning heartbreak, brother Hao. With you gone, our 510 dormitory has lost its soul. Who will lead us in our studies now? Who will guide us to new heights? Zhang Xueya blushed at their words and, embarrassed, hid behind Chen Hao, gently pinching his waist. Chen Hao laughed and replied, don't give me that. I've just moved out, I haven't dropped out of school. We still see each other in class, don't we? I'm going now, I'm going to be late. The group arrived at the classroom noisily and habitually sat down in the back seats. Zhang Xueyao and Chen Hao naturally sat together. A short while later, Zhang Xueyao's roommate, Tian Xinyue, also arrived, and Zhang Xueyao quickly waved to her. Tian Xinyue walked over and sat down on the other side of Zhang Xueyao, casually asking, "Xueyao, where did you guys go this morning? I didn't see you come back to the dorm." Zhang Xueyao leaned close to her ear and whispered somewhat shyly, "Xinyue, I have something to tell you. I'm planning to move out of the dormitory." Tian Xinyue didn't react at first. "Moving out? Are you going to live at home?" "No," Zhang Xueya's voice was even softer, tinged with shyness. Yes, I rented a place with Chen Hao, and we'll be living there from now on." "What? You and Chen Hao are moving out?" Startled, Tian Xinyue suddenly raised her voice, her words like a pebble thrown into a quiet classroom. In an instant, the classroom, which had been somewhat noisy, quickly fell silent, centered around their area. Almost all the students' eyes immediately focused on Zhang Xueyao and Chen Hao. Zhang Xueyao felt utterly ashamed by the sudden silence and the countless gazes upon her. She glared at Tian Xinyue in embarrassment and anger, then quickly lowered her burning cheeks, wishing she could disappear into the ground. Although Chen Hao also felt a little embarrassed, he remained calm and simply touched his nose. After a brief silence, the classroom erupted in even louder noise and jeers. "Wow! They're living together! Wow, Chen Hao! You're quick! The school beauty has been kidnapped, my heart is broken. See you on the rooftop tonight, guys! Congratulations! When are you going to invite us for wedding candy? Hey! You two need to be careful when you live away from home from now on, and pay attention to safety. Don't let things go wrong and you end up with a baby, then you'll be in a complete mess." Some of the more mischievous students were making loud, suggestive jokes. This remark elicited a burst of ambiguous laughter. Little did they know, Zhang Xueyao had not only gone off, but also had a baby in her belly. Many boys looked at Chen Hao with eyes full of naked envy and jealousy. The most beautiful girl in Shanghai University, the dream girl of countless people, is already taken and is going to live with her boyfriend. This was a devastating blow to all the boys in the school. Zhang Xueyao felt extremely uncomfortable under the teasing and stares, so she lowered her head even further and her ears turned bright red. Fortunately, the class bell rang at that moment, and the teacher walked in with the lesson plan. The noise in the classroom had to be quieted down, but many students still kept sneaking peeks at the back rows. The teacher began the lesson, and Zhang Xueyao, Tian Xinyue, and Dong Letian all focused their attention and began to listen attentively. Chen Hao, however, once again entered wandering in the sky mode. Attending a lecture? For someone like him who has a system and can reach a master-level understanding by reading a book once, it's a complete waste of time. All he can think about now is how to use the system to develop new money-making skills. While stock trading and game development can be lucrative, you can't put all your eggs in one basket. You need to explore multiple avenues for making money. Chen Hao pondered to himself, ideally, this new skill should be able to make a lot of money without taking up too much offline time, and should be able to be done mainly online, like programming and stock trading. His gaze swept across the blackboard, then across the window, his mind rapidly filtering through all the possibilities. Suddenly, an idea flashed through my mind to write a song. Yes. Music creation. If he can write good songs, whether he sells them to singers or sings them himself and releases digital albums, it could bring him huge profits. Moreover, this entire process, from composition and arrangement to post-production, can theoretically be completed on a computer, which is very suitable for his situation. Okay. I've decided on this one. Chen Hao's eyes lit up, and he made a decision immediately. He took out his phone, blocked out light and sound, and began searching online for information such as basic music theory, composition tutorials for beginners, chord progression principles, and recommended music production software. He clicked on a web page explaining musical notation and scales, and quickly browsed through it. With his enhanced learning and comprehension abilities, these basic music theory concepts became exceptionally simple and clear to him. When he finished reading a chapter explaining intervals and chord construction and understood its principles, a familiar notification sounded in his mind. Ding! Host has been detected actively learning about music. Congratulations! You have successfully activated and acquired the music skill. Current level, beginner 0-100. It really works. Chen Hao was overjoyed. This system was indeed omnipotent. He immediately perked up and devoted himself even more intently to learning music. He was no longer satisfied with just a superficial understanding. Instead, he began to systematically browse and memorize various music theory concepts, the characteristics of different musical styles, the structural analysis of classic songs, and even some basic acoustic principles and mixing concepts. His brain, like a highly efficient information processor, frantically absorbed, understood, and integrated this knowledge. As he integrated several important sections of music theory and began to construct a preliminary framework of music knowledge in his mind, the prompting sound arrived again as expected. Ding! Detected that the host is continuing to delve deeper into knowledge related to music. Congratulations! You have accumulated 118 music experience points. Ding! Triggered a 10,000x return effect. You have received a 555x experience bonus. Refund calculation, 118 points 555 is equal to 65,490 experience points. Congratulations! Your music skill experience points are full, and your level has increased. Current music skill level, Master 65,490 100,000. Boom! An immense torrent of music instantly flooded Chen Hao's mind. It covers not only the music theory we learned before, but also extremely profound harmony, counterpoint, orchestration, musical form, and even the characteristics of music from various ethnic groups around the world, the secrets of creating various popular music styles, and the analysis of the melody and harmonic progressions of thousands of classic songs. All the top knowledge and intuition about music composition and appreciation were imprinted on his soul like instinct. At the same time, he felt as if his hearing had been enhanced, and he could easily distinguish extremely subtle changes in pitch and timbre. He could even construct complex and beautiful melodies and harmonies out of thin air in his mind. Master-level musical skills. This means that he is now a true music master. Whether it's creating pop hits, classical pieces, or handling complex arrangements and orchestrations, it's all as natural as breathing for him. He has even reached a master-level understanding of the playing techniques of various musical instruments: piano, guitar, violin, etc. Although he lacks actual muscle memory, he already possesses theoretical knowledge and feel for the instruments. He went from a complete novice in music to a top-tier creative master in the music field by simply studying online for one class period. This feeling is incredible. Chapter 39. I was just bored and wrote a song for you. Chen Hao did not stop learning. He continued to use his mobile phone to absorb more and deeper music knowledge online, from the complex counterpoint in classical music to the use of synthesizers in modern electronic music. He absorbed it greedily like a sponge. Soon, that pleasant notification sound rang in his mind again. Ding! Detected that the host is continuing to delve deeper into knowledge related to music. Congratulations! You have accumulated 121 music experience points. Ding! Triggered a 10,000x return effect. You will receive a 2000x experience bonus this time. Refund calculation, 121 points 2000 times equals 242,000 experience points. Congratulations! Your music skill experience points are full, and your level has increased. Current music skill level, Grandmaster 242,000 1,000,000. 2000x critical hit. 240,000 experience points. His musical skills broke through the shackles of the master level and stepped into the hall of Grandmaster level. Chen Hao felt as if his musical soul had undergone a complete baptism and sublimation. It's not just about accumulating knowledge, but also about a thorough understanding of the essence of music and unparalleled creativity. He now not only knows how to create, but has truly reached the realm of having no sword in hand, but a sword in heart. He can handle any musical style with ease, and theoretically, he can perform any instrument to its fullest potential. Even his vocal techniques and emotional expression in singing have reached world-class levels. Globally, there are probably very few people who can rival him in terms of overall musical literacy. After the immense joy came an unparalleled sense of peace. Chen Hao felt that his master-level musical skills were more than enough, and even far exceeded his expectations. It's time to start practicing writing songs. His gaze unconsciously drifted to Zhang Xueyao, who was listening attentively beside him. She tilted her head slightly, sunlight streaming through the window casting a soft glow on her delicate profile. Her long eyelashes trembled occasionally, and her slender, white fingers held the pen. Looking at her, Chen Hao felt as if the gentlest string in his heart had been plucked, and an irrepressible creative inspiration burst forth like a spring. All the love and tenderness, all the joy and promises, have been transformed into flowing musical notes and verses. He immediately took out a blank notebook and pen from his backpack, turned to a brand new page, hesitated for a moment, and then quickly began to write and draw. The pen scratched across the paper, and lines of heartfelt lyrics leaped from the page. Song title: Unfinished Melody. Verse 1. The raindrops outside the window are tapping out a melody. Like the frequency of my heartbeat when I miss you. I walked through the crowded streets, just to meet you. It turns out that all the beautiful scenery was for this encounter. Refrain. Loving you is the bravest decision. Like stars silently guarding the night sky. No matter how many storms the world may bring. Your smile is like a clear blue sky. Loving you is the longest journey. Every step is filled with tenderness. Until time grows old. This love song will continue to be sung for you. Verse 2. The heart you drew next to the coffee cup. The sweetest surprise in simple days. No need for elaborate vows, just a simple statement. Every day you're here is the most beautiful scenery. Repeated chorus. End. If life is a symphony, you are the most touching sentence. I never get tired of watching it on repeat. Let me spend my whole life softly singing to you this unfinished melody. Hiding all my love for you. From black hair to white hair. A promise from this moment to the next life. The lyrics are complete, full of emotion, and beautiful in imagery. Without pausing for a moment, Chen Hao immediately began composing music for the lyrics. With the support of master-level musical skills, the process became incredibly smooth and natural. His brain seemed to have become a top-of-the-line music workstation, where various chord progressions, melodic lines, and rhythmic patterns were automatically generated, combined, and optimized in his mind. He doesn't need to play any instruments relying solely on his inner hearing and music theory knowledge. He can accurately judge whether each note and chord is harmonious, pleasant to listen to, and can perfectly express the emotions in the lyrics. On the staff he wrote, the notes seemed to come alive, leaping and connecting, and the melody of the verse was soothing and affectionate, like the whispers between lovers. The chorus features an upward sweeping melody, bursting with emotion and filled with a resolute and warm power. The ending gradually becomes calm and lingering, carrying a sense of eternal promise. A complete and high-quality pop love song was quietly born in the back row of this quiet classroom. As he finished the last note, a notification sounded softly in his mind. Ding! Host detected performing music practice creating a complete song. Congratulations! You have accumulated 136 music experience points. Ding! Triggered a 10,000x return effect. You have received a 999x experience bonus. Refund calculation: 136 points 999 times equals 135,864 experience points. Current music skill experience: Grandmaster level 377,864 1 million. I gained over 130,000 experience points. Although the next level is still a long way off, watching the experience bar steadily rise is still a pleasant experience. Just then, Zhang Xueyao, who was sitting next to him, felt a little sore in her neck from listening to the lecture in one position for a long time, so she moved slightly and glanced at the notebook open on Chen Hao's desk. She saw that it was covered with densely packed tadpoles musical notes that she couldn't quite understand, as well as some handwritten paragraphs of text. She was slightly surprised. Chen Hao, what is he drawing? Those look like musical notation? He can do that? Before she could think it through, the bell rang at just the right moment. The teacher on the podium said, "Get out of class dismissed," and the atmosphere in the classroom instantly relaxed. The students closed their books, discussing the lessons they had just learned or their plans for the evening, as they got up and walked out of the classroom. Finally, get out of class is over. Let's go, we're starving, let's go eat. Where should we go tonight? Chen Hao, Zhang Xueyao, Tian Xinyue, and Dong Letian also began packing their things. Unable to contain her curiosity, Zhang Xueyao put the books into her bag and couldn't help but lean closer to Chen Hao, whispering, "Chen Hao, what were you doing scribbling in your notebook just now? It looks like musical notation?" Chen Hao closed the notebook filled with lyrics and sheet music, turned to look at Zhang Xueyao, a gentle and mysterious smile on his face, and said softly, "Well, I was just bored and wrote a song for you." Chapter 40: Singing for the School Beauty in Public. Zhang Xueyao was stunned for a moment when she heard Chen Hao's words, seemingly not quite understanding. Did I write a song for her? The next second, a huge wave of surprise and emotion overwhelmed her. Her heart pounded wildly, and an indescribable sweetness rushed to her head. He actually wrote a song for her? This touched her heart more than any expensive gift. But what followed was an even stronger sense of surprise and disbelief. Chen Hao, he can write songs? Wasn't he a computer science student? Aren't you really good at stock trading? Isn't the game also great? How come you can suddenly write songs again? How many more surprises does he have that she doesn't know about? Standing nearby, Tian Xingyue, as well as Chen Hao's three roommates Dong Letian, Baiyu, and Fan Xing, all heard what Chen Hao said. What? Haozi, you can write songs? Dong Letian was the first to exclaim, his eyes wide as if he had heard something unbelievable. Baiyu pushed up his glasses, his face showing undisguised shock. Chen Hao, are you sure it was writing a song and not just a few lines of doggerel? He simply couldn't connect programming code with music composition. Fan Xing even exaggeratedly picked at his ear. Brother Hao. Am I hallucinating? You said you. He cleared his throat and gathered his emotions slightly. Despite possessing master-level musical skills, this was the first time he had actually sung a song. When he opened his mouth and sang the first line, the raindrops outside the window were tapping on the melody. Even he himself was slightly stunned. That voice, clear, warm, with a natural magnetism and resonance, and the pitch is so precise it's as if it's been tuned. Moreover, his voice is natural and smooth, and his breath is stable and long, which is not like that of an amateur. It's as if he was born to do this job. His master-level skills have also elevated his vocal qualities and singing techniques to the highest level. He quickly adapted to the change and continued singing with deep emotion. Like the frequency of my heartbeat when I think of you. Walking through the crowded streets, just to meet you. All the scenery was there for this encounter. When singing the chorus, the emotions become even more intense. Loving you is the bravest decision I've ever made. Like stars silently guarding the night sky. No matter how many storms the world may bring. Your smile is like a clear blue sky. The beautiful melody, the sincere and moving lyrics, coupled with Chen Hao's captivating voice comparable to a professional singer and his precise emotional expression. Zhang Shuiyao, Tian Xingyue, Dong Letian, Baiyu, and Fan Xing, the five people closest to them, were all stunned. Zhang Shuiyao covered her mouth with her hand, her eyes wide open, filled with unbelievable shock and overwhelming emotion. This song, was it really written and sung by Chen Hao? How can it sound so good? She felt her heartstrings being firmly grasped by the song, and as the melody rose and fell, a tremendous sense of happiness and being cherished almost brought her to tears. Tian Xingyue was so engrossed in the music that she forgot to cheer. She just stared at Chen Hao, murmuring, "My God, it's so beautiful." Dong Lishan's mouth gaped open, and he forgot to close it. Baiyu forgot to adjust his glasses. Fan Xing remained frozen in the comical ear-picking pose. They weren't just shocked by Chen Hao's singing, although that was enough to make their jaws drop. What shocked them even more was that the melody of the song was so beautiful and catchy, and the lyrics were so sincere and moving. It was a mature, complete, and high-quality original love song. Could it be that Chen Hao really composed both the melody and the lyrics himself? If that's really the case, then Chen Hao is just too incredible. A stock market genius, a game developer, and now a music composer? Is this even human? This guy is absolutely a genius. Their commotion in Chen Hao's singing also attracted other students who were about to leave the classroom or were passing by the corridor. Ha! Who's singing? It sounds so good. Is it an original work? I've never heard of it before. Let's go take a look. Many students slowed down and curiously gathered around. When they heard the lyrics and felt the sincere emotions and beautiful melody, they all fell silent and immersed themselves in the wonderful song. Some people even closed their eyes to savor the moment. More and more people gathered, not only from their own class, but also from other classes and even other floors. They were all drawn by the beautiful singing and quietly surrounded Chen Hao and his classmates, forming a small open-air concert. This love song will continue to be sung for you. Let me spend my whole life softly singing to you. This unfinished melody. Hiding all my love for you. From black hair to white hair. A promise from this moment to the next life. When Chen Hao finished singing the last note and his voice slowly faded away, the entire corridor area fell into a brief silence. Immediately. Whoosh! Thunderous applause suddenly erupted. It almost blew the roof off. It sounds so good. Awesome. Dude. Is this an original work? It's amazing. One more song. Hey, are you a music major? You sing so well. Tian Xinyue excitedly grabbed Zhang Shueo's hand. Shueo, did you hear that? Chen Hao, he's amazing. This song is so well written. And his singing is superb. Dong Letian patted Chen Hao's shoulder hard, so excited he was incoherent. Howsy? You fucking are really something else. I'm impressed. I'm really impressed. Baiyu let out a long sigh and said with emotion, Chen Hao, I'm starting to suspect that you've been modified by some mysterious organization. Fan Xing immediately transformed into a fervent fan. Brother Hao. From today onwards, you are my idol. Please give me your autograph. Standing beside Chen Hao, Zhang Shueya felt the envious and admiring glances from her classmates, listened to the heartfelt praise from her friends, and looked at Chen Hao's gentle, smiling profile. Her heart was filled with immense happiness, pride, and emotion. She couldn't help but reach out and hold Chen Hao's hand tightly, interlocking their fingers as if declaring her luck and choice to the whole world. Chapter 41 Su Kaiyang, if you're so capable, why don't you write one yourself? Just as everyone was sincerely praising Chen Hao's singing and creative talent, and applause was thundering, a figure in the crowd had a face so gloomy it could drip water. It was Su Kaiyang. He was just passing by when he was drawn in by the singing. He never expected to see Chen Hao stealing the spotlight, and Zhang Shueya holding Chen Hao's hands tightly with eyes full of adoration and happiness. This scene was like a poisonous thorn, piercing his heart. Jealousy and anger burned like poisonous fire, almost consuming his last shred of reason. He heard with his own ears how well Chen Hao sang and how moving the melody was, but that made it even more unacceptable to him. Why should a poor boy from the countryside always be superior to him? What makes him so special that he can win Zhang Shueya's heart? Seeing Chen Hao surrounded by people, like a star being worshipped, Su Kaiyang could no longer resist. He pushed through the crowd, squeezed to a slightly forward position, and crossed his arms. He forced a disdainful and mocking expression onto his face, and spoke in a voice that was neither too loud nor too soft, but loud enough for those around him to hear, in a sarcastic tone. TCH. I thought it was so good, but it's really this bad? The melody's off to the Pacific Ocean. It's awful. He paused deliberately, then said in an even more malicious tone. And this song, the lyrics are so cheesy, and the melody is so cliched, it's probably copied from some obscure corner. You can write a song like this? You're kidding me. The moment he said that, the previously enthusiastic atmosphere froze. All eyes were on Su Kaiyang. When Chen Hao's three roommates saw that it was Su Kaiyang, the troublemaker, their tempers flared up instantly. They still remember the disgusting face of that guy throwing money at people at the school gate. Dong Letian was the first to explode, pointing his finger at Su Kaiyang and cursing. Damn it! Su Kaiyang, what the hell are you talking about? You're just sour grapes, aren't you? Howsy sings terribly? Are you blind? If you're so capable, why don't you sing a song a cappella for everyone? Let's see what kind of tune your duck-like voice can produce. Baiyu also pushed up his glasses with a cold face and said sarcastically, Young Master Su, you need to provide evidence to question someone's plagiarism. To slander someone with baseless accusations is a level of behavior unbecoming of someone of your status. Or could you compose a song of equal quality on the spot for everyone to appreciate? Fan Xing jumped up and down. Exactly. You're tone-deaf and useless, so you can't stand seeing others do well. Su Kaiyang, if you're so capable, why don't you write a song yourself? Sing one. What kind of skill is it to hide behind someone's back and make sarcastic remarks? Even Tian Xinyue couldn't stand it anymore and angrily chimed in, Su Kaiyang, how could you do this? Whether Chen Hao sang well or not, whether he wrote the song or not, so many of us are listening. What right do you have to talk nonsense? Although the other classmates weren't entirely aware of the previous grudge, they had all witnessed Chen Hao's performance. Now, seeing Su Kaiyang's unwarranted slander, they also showed expressions of dissatisfaction and whispered among themselves. Why is young Master Su talking like that? She sang really well. So, it's conjunctivitis, right? I guess young Master Su is just jealous that other people's girlfriends are beautiful and talented. Although Zhang Shueya didn't utter a single word from beginning to end, her eyes were filled with undisguised disgust as she looked at Su Kaiyang. She gripped Chen Hao's hand tightly, their fingers intertwined, expressing her unwavering trust and support for him through her actions. Su Kaiyang was confronted by so many people, especially when he saw Zhang Shueya's cold and disgusted eyes and her hands tightly clasped with Chen Hao's. His face turned pale and then red. He didn't expect Chen Hao to be so popular, with so many people speaking up for him. He knew he was outnumbered and outmatched, and that staying any longer would only bring him further humiliation. He forced a smile and, though his tone was fierce, retorted, "Humph. I can't be bothered to waste my breath on you bunch of trash." After saying that, he turned around sheepishly and tried to squeeze out of the crowd. Running away when you can't win an argument? Who do you think you are, you piece of trash? Get out of here. Don't embarrass yourself in public again. Get out of here. Get out of here. Dong Letian and a few other classmates who disliked Su Kaiyan continued to ridicule him as he walked away. Hearing the curses behind him, Su Kaiyan quickened his pace, almost fleeing in panic, and soon disappeared at the end of the corridor. Pah! What a load of crap! Dong Letian spat in the direction Su Kaiyan had disappeared. Finally, some peace and quiet. Bai Yu shook his head. Everyone, let's go, there's nothing to see here, Fan Xing waved to the classmates who were still watching the commotion. Seeing that the farce was over, the crowd laughed and gradually dispersed, with many giving Chen Hao a thumbs up before leaving. This minor incident has finally subsided. Chen Hao didn't say much from beginning to end, just calmly watched Su Kaiyan perform and then left the stage in a sorry state. For him, this level of provocation could no longer stir any emotion within him. He suddenly remembered something more important and looked up at the time. Time is almost up. Chen Hao's brows twitched slightly as he calculated in his mind. Based on the trend of Starshine Entertainment and my analysis, the plunge should be nearing its end. The panic selling has been largely released, and a technical rebound will soon occur. This is the best time to close out short positions and buy the dip. Xueyao, we have to go now, Chen Hao said, pulling Zhang Xueyao's hand. Ha? Where to? Zhang Xueyao was still immersed in the warmth of being protected and the pleasure of driving Su Kaiyan away, and didn't react for a moment. Let's go to the dorm to pack our things first, and then move to the villa, Chen Hao explained, while pulling her towards the edge of the crowd. Seeing this, Dong Letian, Bai Yu, Fan Xing, and Tian Xinhua quickly followed. Howzy, are we leaving already? Are you really moving in today? The group followed along, asking questions as they went. Chen Hao nodded, continuing on his way. At the same time, he took out his phone with his other hand and quickly logged into his securities trading app. Zhang Xueyao, Tian Xinhua, and their 3 roommates were all curious when they saw Chen Hao walking while intently staring at his phone screen and rapidly typing on it. Chen Hao, what are you looking at? Why are you in such a hurry? Zhang Xueyao couldn't help but ask. Tian Xinhua also came over. Are you looking at stocks? Is there any news about them again? Dong Letian and the other 2 craned their necks even further. Chen Hao's gaze remained fixed on his phone screen, which displayed the heart-stopping, precipitous drop in Star Glory Entertainment's stock price. Yet, his expression remained unusually calm, as if he were admiring a work of art. A slight smile played on his lips, and his tone carried a sense of complete control as he replied. Let's look at the stocks. It's about time to cash out on Starshine Entertainment, which we shorted before. Soon you'll find out exactly how much money I'll make from this stock market investment. Upon hearing this, Zhang Xueyao, Tian Xinhua, Dong Letian, Bai Yu, and Fan Xing's eyes lit up instantly, and their faces all showed expressions that were a mixture of intense curiosity and great anticipation. They all still remember that Chen Hao invested 1.3 million yuan and leveraged it 20-fold to short this stock. The unrealized profits had already exceeded 1 million. Judging from Chen Hao's words, is he about to take the most crucial step to lock in the final profit? How much can you ultimately earn? This suspense, like a kitten's paw, tickled their hearts with unbearable itch. Everyone held their breath, their eyes fixed on Chen Hao and the phone in his hand, as if a miracle of wealth was about to unfold on that small screen. Chapter 42, earning 3.89 million yuan in just 2 days of stock trading. The group of 6 walked slowly along the tree-lined path leading to the dormitory. But the atmosphere was a bit strange. Chen Hao walked in the middle, looking down at the time on his phone screen, his brows slightly furrowed, his expression focused. Zhang Xueyao, who was beside him, was holding his arm, her gaze fixed on his phone screen, her delicate chin unconsciously tensing up. The other 4 people surrounding them were even more outrageous. Dong Lishan's round head was almost resting on Chen Hao's shoulder as he stared wide-eyed at the screen. Bai Yu adjusted his glasses, his eyes behind the lenses unblinking. Fan Xing stood with his hands in his pockets, seemingly casual, but his neck was stretched out quite far. Even the usually lively and active Tian Xinhua was now quietly nestled next to Zhang Xueyao, barely daring to breathe. 6 people, 12 eyes, all focused on that small mobile phone screen, as if waiting for some sacred moment to arrive. 1 minute left. Chen Hao said something in a low voice, as if he were talking to himself, or as if he were telling those around him who were even more nervous than him. His words seemed to freeze the air around him even more. Dong Letian swallowed, the sound of his Adam's apple bobbing clearly audible. Time ticked by, second by second. Finally, Chen Hao's fingers moved, and he quickly started operating the stock trading app on his phone. His fingers were nimble and steady, clicking, confirming, closing positions, a series of operations that flowed smoothly. The operation was complete, and he let out a soft breath, but his expression did not relax. He continued to look at the screen, waiting for the final calculation result. After what felt like an eternity, several tens of seconds passed before the numbers on the phone screen finally stopped. Chen Hao's lips slowly curved upwards, eventually forming a clear and pleasant arc. He turned his head to look at Zhang Xueyo, who was clinging tightly to his arm, and said softly with a smile in his eyes, "It's over, the final results are in." "How much?" Zhang Xueyo asked almost immediately, her voice carrying an urgency she herself was unaware of. His words were like flipping a switch, instantly bringing the stagnant air around him to life. "Hey Haozi, tell us quickly, how much did you make?" Dong Letian was the first to shout, impatiently. After deducting all handling fees and taxes, Chen Hao paused, his gaze sweeping over the 5 faces around him, filled with curiosity and tension, before calmly stating a number. "Net profit of 3.89 million. His tone was as calm as if he were saying the weather was nice today, but to others it was like a thunderclap. How much?" Dong Lishan's eyes widened instantly, and his mouth gaped open enough to fit an egg. 3,890,000? Holy crap! Baiyu took a deep breath, his hand adjusting his glasses trembled, and his voice trembled with disbelief. 2 days? Just 2 days? 3,890,000? This is faster than robbing a bank. Although Fan Xing had long guessed that the profits would be astonishing, upon hearing the exact figure, he still couldn't help but gasp and mutter. Awesome! Absolutely awesome! Tian Xinyue reacted the most directly. She let out a scream, grabbed Zhang Xueyo's arm, and shook it vigorously. "Xueya! Did you hear that? 3,890,000! My God! Chen Hao, you're amazing!" She looked at Chen Hao as if he were some rare animal. Zhang Xueyo didn't speak immediately. She just looked up at Chen Hao, her beautiful eyes wide open, filled with extreme shock and a hint of disbelief. She knew Chen Hao was very good at stock trading. The fact that he made over 1 million yuan on the first day was already unbelievable to her. But she never expected that the final profit would be a huge sum. Based on a principal of 1.3 million, that's a return of nearly 300%, and that was achieved with 20 times leverage in just 2 days. He couldn't analyze it any further because it was completely illogical. All that remained was astonishment. Fan Xing let out a long breath, patted Chen Hao's shoulder hard, and said with genuine admiration, "I'm impressed. Haozi, I'm truly impressed. How is your brain structured?" Feeling his roommate's shock and his girlfriend's silent excitement, Chen Hao felt a surge of satisfaction. He smiled and said to Dong Letian, Baiyu, and Fan Xing, "This success is all thanks to the 3 of you who helped me out back then. Thanks, brothers." He spoke sincerely. "Now that the money is in hand, I'll return your principal first, and then calculate the interest." Before he could finish speaking, Dong Letian waved his chubby hand, interrupting him. "Hey Haozi, what are you saying? We're brothers, why are you talking about interest? Just give me back the principal, I don't want a penny of interest." He patted his chest, displaying a magnanimous air that talking about money hurts feelings. Baiyu nodded in agreement. "Lo Tian is right, let's forget about the interest. I didn't expect any interest when I lent it to you." "Yes, no interest." Fan Xing also stated his position succinctly. Chen Hao shook his head, his attitude firm, "One thing at a time. Even brothers should keep clear accounts. You helped me during my most difficult time, and I will remember that kindness. But the interest that's due must be paid, otherwise I won't feel at ease holding on to this money." He knew his roommates didn't need the interest, but this was a matter of principle for him. Seeing his resolute attitude, Dong Letian and Baiyu exchanged glances, feeling somewhat embarrassed and unsure how to persuade him. Just then, Fan Xing, who hadn't said much, suddenly spoke up. "Haozi, since you insist on calculating so clearly, I have a suggestion." Everyone looked at him. Fan Xing looked at Chen Hao with a shrewd smile on his face. "You don't need to rush to pay me back the money I borrowed from you. I'll leave it with you. You can use this money to speculate on stocks for me while you're at it. If we make money, we brothers will split it 50-50. Of course, if we lose money by chance. He paused, then spread his hands in a very straightforward manner. If you lose money, it's on me. I absolutely won't let you bear a single penny of the loss. What do you say? Upon hearing this, Dong Letian and Bai Yu were stunned for a moment, and then their eyes lit up instantly. Yes. How could they not have thought of that? Chapter 43: The Money for Baby Formula in the Future. Chen Hao's stock trading skills are simply amazing, like he's a reincarnation of the god of wealth. Nearly 3 times the return in 2 days. This money-making speed is comparable to a money printing machine. They got the money back, and I estimate they'll soon spend it on food, drinks, and entertainment purely for consumption. But if we put it with Chen Hao and let him handle it, wouldn't that be like making money from money, with interest compounding? This is much better than them messing around on their own or putting their money in the bank to earn that pitiful interest. Dong Letian slapped his thigh suddenly, his voice trembling with excitement. Damn! Lao Fan, you're really smart. This idea is brilliant. Howsy? Brother Hao. My dear brother. I don't need to pay back the money I borrowed from you. I'll just leave it with you. You can help me speculate on it too. The rules are the same as Lao Fan's. We'll split the profits 50-50, and any losses are on me. If I, Dong Letian, even flinch, I'm no hero. Bai Yu quickly followed, his tone not as exaggerated as Dong Letian's, but it was also full of urgency and anticipation. Howsy, that's what I meant too. No need to pay it back, just help me with the process. Profits and losses are your own responsibility, but we'll split the profits equally. He was afraid that if he spoke too late, Chen Hao would refuse. This time, Chen Hao was a little surprised. Looking at the 3 faces before him, filled with trust and expectation, a warm feeling welled up inside him. He smiled and deliberately asked, "You trust me that much? Aren't you afraid I'll make you lose all your money? You all know that the stock market is risky. My good luck this time doesn't mean I'll be so lucky next time. I believe you. I absolutely believe you." Dong Letian pounded his chest loudly. Just because you managed to turn 1.3 million into more than 5 million in 2 days, I, Dong Letian, am impressed. I'll accept the loss even if it's a loss. Bai Yu pushed up his glasses and said seriously, Howsy, we trust your judgment and ability. Even if we lose money, we will never blame you. Fan Xing added with a smile, investing always involves risk. We're all adults, so we can take that much responsibility. Just go ahead and trade. If you make money, we'll drink together. If you lose, well, consider it a lesson learned. After all, I was going to lend you the money anyway. Listening to his roommate's enthusiastic and candid words, Chen Hao was truly moved. This kind of unconditional trust is so precious in today's society. He suppressed his smile, his gaze sweeping solemnly over his 3 roommates, and nodded. All right. Since the brothers trust me so much, I, Chen Hao, can't back down. I'll handle this money for you. I can't guarantee a 100% profit, but I'll do my best to ensure you don't let me down. Very good. Awesome. Howsy? Then we can just sit back and wait to win from now on. Dong Letian, Bai Yu, and Fan Xing immediately beamed with joy and stepped forward to put their arms around Chen Hao's shoulders, their excitement overflowing. It's as if I can already see the bright future of abundant wealth. Tian Xinyue walked a little behind, glancing at Chen Hao's back every now and then lowering her head, twisting the hem of her clothes with her fingers, feeling an itch in her heart like a cat scratching. 3,890,000, in just 2 days, my god. Tian Xinyue kept repeating the number in her mind, feeling as if she were listening to a fairy tale. She witnessed firsthand how Chen Hao tripled his initial investment of 1.3 million yuan in just 2 days. This speed at which she made money completely overturned her understanding. Seeing that Dong Letian, Bai Yu, and Fan Xing unhesitatingly handed over all the money they had previously lent to Chen Hao to manage. They even offered to split the profits 50-50 and cover any losses, a gesture of complete trust that deeply moved Tian Xinyue. All 3 of them come from wealthy families. They could take out hundreds of thousands of yuan without batting an eye. Tian Xinyue thought to herself, feeling a little disappointed. I'm different. My parents are just ordinary wage earners. I've saved for a long time, and with the money I save from living expenses, I only have a little over 20,000 yuan at most. 20,000 is negligible compared to the hundreds of thousands that Dong Letian and his group often have. Tian Xinyue sighed, but then quickly rallied. No, the opportunity is right in front of us, and if we miss it, it may be gone forever. Chen Hao's stock trading skills are simply amazing. Even a little money is still money with him, it might grow faster than I could save up in several years. She made up her mind that once she got back to her dorm, she would immediately call her parents and have a proper discussion with them. See if your family can find a way to raise some more money for her, even just tens of thousands of yuan, and then give it all to Chen Hao so that he can help her earn some money too. Thinking of this, Tian Xingyue couldn't help but smile secretly. Zhang Shuiao, though outwardly calm as she held Chen Hao's arm and listened to him and his roommates chatting and laughing, was inwardly far from at peace. Chen Hao's astonishing financial ability surprised her and made her even prouder. Seeing how much her roommates trusted Chen Hao, she felt a warmth in her heart. She had actually made up her mind about entrusting the money to Chen Hao to manage earlier than Tian Xingyue. However, she considered things a little more. Firstly, she didn't want to mention it in front of her classmates. Secondly, she had a considerable amount of money, and she needed to discuss the specifics of how to proceed with it privately and seriously with Chen Hao. Once he makes money by investing in stocks for me, even if it's just for our future baby formula, it can support his career. Looking at Chen Hao's resolute profile, Zhang Shuiao silently thought to herself, her eyes filled with even more tenderness. She planned to wait until they returned to their rented villa, when it was just the two of them, before discussing the matter in detail with Chen Hao. With each person having their own thoughts, the group soon arrived near the girls' dormitory area. Chen Hao stopped and turned around, saying softly to Zhang Shuiao, "Shuiao, why don't you go back to your dorm and pack your things? I'm going back to my dorm to get my luggage. We'll meet here again later and then go together to our rented apartment." Zhang Shuiao nodded obediently. "Okay, then go and come back quickly." Tian Xingyue quickly added, yes, Shuiao, I'll help you pack." She couldn't wait to go back to her dorm and call her parents. "Okay," Zhang Shuiao responded, glanced at Chen Hao again, and then turned and walked into the girls' dormitory building with Tian Xingyue. Chen Hao watched their figures disappear through the gate, then waved to his three still excited roommates, "Let's go, back to the dorm." "Understood." Dong Letian let out a strange cry, hooked his arms around Baiyu and Fan Xing's necks, and followed Chen Hao toward the boys' dormitory with a giggle. Back in his familiar dormitory 510, Chen Hao opened his wardrobe and locker and began packing some daily necessities and changes of clothes into his suitcase. Chapter 44: Key Protected Objects. Dong Letian plopped down in a chair, crossed his legs, and looked at the busy Chen Hao, winking and teasing him. Howsy, this trip means you'll be living a shameless life with school beauty Zhang. TSK, just thinking about it makes me so envious." As Baiyu handed Chen Hao a book he often read, he pushed up his glasses and chimed in a scholarly tone, "Yes, brother Hao." From then on, I smiled as I sat at the counter in my long dress, washing my hands and preparing meals for you. However, you can't become so complacent and forget about us, your brothers from dormitory 510, who have shared so many hardships with you. Fan Xing leaned against the edge of the bed and added with a smile, "That's right, brother Hao, come back and visit often when you have time. Our dorm alliance can't fall apart just because you moved out. We're counting on you to lead us to wealth." Chen Hao stuffed the last piece of clothing into his suitcase, zipped it up, straightened up, and looked at his three lovable roommates, feeling both annoyed and amused. He punched Dong Letian on the shoulder and laughed, "Get lost. Do you think I'm the kind of person who values women over friends?" He glanced at the three men, his tone becoming more sincere, "Don't worry, buddies. We were brothers in the same dormitory, and I will never forget this bond. I'm moving out to make it easier to take care of Shuiao. I still have to attend school classes, but I can come back to the dorm anytime. We'll eat what we want, drink what we want, and make money as we please. We won't miss out on anything." "Terrific. That's more like it. We knew Hao Go wasn't that kind of person." Upon hearing this, the three of them beamed with joy, and the slight sense of loss they had felt because their brother had suddenly gotten a girlfriend and moved away vanished. Chen Hao picked up his suitcase and said, "All right, I'm all packed. I'm leaving now. Hurry up and go, don't keep the school beauty waiting. Go Hao Gu. Take care of yourself, Haozi." Amidst the good-natured laughter and well wishes from his three roommates, Chen Hao dragged his suitcase, shook his head with a smile, and left dormitory 510. He arrived near the girls' dormitory building where he had arranged to meet Zhang Shuiao, and stood quietly under a tree waiting. Not long after, Zhang Shuiao was seen dragging a delicate suitcase out of the dormitory building. She spotted Chen Hao waiting there at a glance, and a bright smile immediately bloomed on her face. She quickened her pace unconsciously and came to Chen Hao. Her eyes seemed to be filled with starlight, brimming with love and dependence. "Have you been waiting long?" Zhang Shuiao asked softly. "No, I just arrived too." Chen Hao naturally took the suitcase from her hand. Let's go. The two walked side by side to a nearby parking lot, where a sleek, striking red luxury sports car was parked quietly. Chen Hao put the two suitcases into the front trunk, then opened the passenger door and got in. Zhang Shuiao skillfully started the engine, and the sports car emitted a deep and powerful roar as it smoothly drove out of the campus, merged into the traffic, and headed towards their rented villa. Soft, soothing music played inside the car, creating a warm and tranquil atmosphere. Chen Hao turned his head and looked at Zhang Shuiao's profile as she focused on driving, the headlights casting soft shadows on her perfect features. He suddenly remembered something and said, "Shuiao, I'm planning to register for a driver's license test." Upon hearing this, Zhang Shuiao glanced at him with some surprise and asked, "Why did you suddenly decide to take the driving test?" Chen Hao's gaze fell on her still flat stomach, his tone gentle yet carrying an undeniable firmness. "You are pregnant now, so it's not suitable or safe for you to drive for long periods of time. Once I get my driver's license, I'll drive you everywhere. You can just sit and relax." Zhang Shuiao's hand on the steering wheel paused slightly. A warm current seemed to strike her heart, and an indescribable feeling of emotion and bittersweetness welled up inside her. She hadn't expected that Chen Hao would consider even such a small thing for her. He didn't just say he loved her and would take responsibility, he put those promises into concrete actions and details. She blinked her slightly moist eyes, suppressed the sob in her throat, and softly hummed in response, her voice trembling slightly. She didn't say much, but the feeling of peace and happiness in her heart, like the warm night outside the car window, gently enveloped her. "He's been so good to me." The red sports car, like a smooth flame, drove steadily into the villa's underground garage and parked precisely in its designated parking space. The engine's low hum stopped abruptly, and the car fell silent instantly. Throughout the journey, Chen Hao appeared to be admiring the street scene outside the window, but out of the corner of his eye, he never took his eyes off Zhang Shuia's movements as she controlled the vehicle. She demonstrated how to lightly grip the steering wheel, how to gracefully shift gears, how to observe the rearview mirror, and how to smoothly apply the brakes and accelerator. This is not distrust, but a subconscious observation and learning. Sure enough, just as Zhang Shuiao pulled the handbrake and was about to turn off the engine, a series of prompts that only Chen Hao could see clearly appeared in his mind. Ding! Host detected continuously observing others performing driving operations. Congratulations! You have accumulated 112 driving experience points. Ding! Triggered a 10,000x return effect. You have received a 666x experience bonus. Refund calculation, 112.666 is equal to 74,592 experience points. Current driving skill level, Master 197,136 1 million. Cool. Chen Hao felt a surge of joy, as a deeper understanding of vehicle control and muscle memory flowed into his limbs like a warm current. Although he had long since reached the level of a master pilot, the accumulation of experience still brought subtle but real improvements, a feeling that was wonderful. The two unbuckled their seatbelts and got out of the car at the same time. As Zhang Shuiao reached the back of the car, she was about to reach for the trunk when Chen Hao preemptively pressed the open button. The trunk slowly rose, revealing two suitcases, one large and one small. Zhang Shuiao naturally reached out to take her relatively small and exquisite suitcase. "Don't move!" Chen Hao quickly called out to stop him, his tone resolute and leaving no room for argument. Zhang Shuiao's hand froze in mid-air as she looked at him in confusion. Chen Hao looked serious, even a little solemn. "I've told you so many times, you're now under special protection and you can't lift anything heavy. From now on, this kind of work will be mine." As he spoke, he effortlessly lifted both suitcases, one in each hand, and placed them steadily on the ground. Chapter 45 You're the real brooding pervert. Looking at Chen Hao's cautious and wary demeanor, Zhang Shuiao felt her heart filled with sweetness, both overwhelming and deeply moved. She gave him a reproachful look, but couldn't help but smile. "I'm not that delicate. I can carry a whole suitcase." "That won't do either." Chen Hao stubbornly shook his head, dragging the handle of a suitcase with one hand. "Rules are rules, let's go." Seeing him carrying a box in each hand, like a dutiful porter, Zhang Shuiao smiled and obediently followed beside him into the villa. Upon entering and changing into slippers, Chen Hao looked at the stairs leading upstairs and casually asked, "Shuiao, shall we sleep on the first floor or the second floor?" "The first floor is more convenient, we don't have to climb up and down the stairs." He asked the question so naturally, as if it were the most natural thing in the world for two people to live together. Zhang Shuiao's pretty face flushed red instantly, all the way down to her ears. She glared at Chen Hao shyly, her voice barely audible, tinged with obvious coquettishness. Who wants to sleep with you, you wish? Seeing her shy yet stubborn expression, Chen Hao's playful side emerged. He deliberately moved closer, lowered his voice, and teased her with a mischievous grin. Oh? I wonder which little pervert it was who threw himself at me at noon today, pestering me and saying he wanted it. Hey! You can't say that. Zhang Shuiao's face turned even redder, almost dripping blood. She was both ashamed and anxious, and reached out to cover Chen Hao's mouth, stamping her foot and pouting coquettishly. You're talking nonsense. You're the one who's secretly a pervert. You're the one who's thinking about that. You big scoundrel. Her harmless swear words, combined with her flushed cheeks and sparkling eyes, made her seem exceptionally cute. Chen Hao laughed and dodged her hand, no longer teasing her, lest he really provoke this shy little cat. After a few playful exchanges, Zhang Shuiao calmed her racing heart, pointed upstairs, and spoke in a normal voice, though still tinged with shyness. I like sleeping on the second floor. The view is good, and it's quiet. Understood. Chen Hao responded, then made a move that surprised Zhang Shuiao. Instead of dragging his suitcase, he simply picked up her obviously heavy suitcase with one hand, and lifted his own with the other, seemingly intending to carry it upstairs. Hey! Wait a minute! Zhang Shuiao called out quickly. The stairs are quite long, you can take them one by one, I'll help you take a small one. As she spoke, she reached for her suitcase. Chen Hao stepped aside, giving her a feigned look of displeasure. You just said that, and you've already forgotten? You're a high-priority protected individual. You're prohibited from moving heavy objects. These 2 boxes are nothing. He wasn't just bragging. Since reaching the master level in Tai Chi, not only have his moves become exquisite, but his strength, endurance, and control over power have also made a qualitative leap. These 2 heavy suitcases felt as light as 2 bags of cotton when I carried them. Before Zhang Shuiao could say anything more, Chen Hao had already started walking, his footsteps echoing as he climbed the stairs. He walked steadily, his breathing even, carrying 2 large suitcases upstairs, looking as relaxed as if he were taking a stroll. Zhang Shuiao followed behind him, staring in disbelief. She knows her own suitcase well. It's stuffed with clothes, skincare products, and other odds and ends. It's incredibly heavy, and she usually finds it difficult to even drag it around. But when it came into Chen Hao's hands, it seemed to have no weight at all. Seeing Chen Hao effortlessly carry the suitcase to the second floor platform without even breaking a sweat, Zhang Shuiao couldn't help but exclaim in amazement. Chen Hao, when did you become so strong? That's amazing. Chen Hao placed the box on the second floor corridor, clapped his hands casually, turned around and smiled at Zhang Shuiao, who was looking at him with admiration, and said nonchalantly. It's nothing, just exercise more often. It's just 2 suitcases, nothing to worry about. His effortless demeanor was incredibly handsome and masculine in Zhang Shuiao's eyes. The 2 went to the master bedroom on the second floor. The room was large and decorated in an elegant and cozy style. Chen Hao placed the 2 suitcases side by side against the wall, then said to Zhang Shuiao, You pack your things first, I'll go downstairs and make you dinner. Zhang Shuiao felt a warmth in her heart and nodded, okay. Chen Hao smiled at her, turned and went downstairs, heading straight to the kitchen to prepare dinner for himself, Zhang Shuiao, and the baby in her belly. Zhang Shuiao, meanwhile, remained in the spacious and bright master bedroom, looking at the 2 suitcases placed side by side, a happy and sweet smile on her face. She began to organize their luggage and decorate this home that belonged to the 3 of them. Chen Hao went downstairs to the kitchen, put on an apron, and prepared to start cooking dinner. Tonight he plans to cook 3 dishes and a soup to properly nourish Zhang Shuiao. The kitchen is spacious and bright, and fully equipped with all kinds of high-end kitchenware. Chen Hao glanced at it and immediately understood what was going on. He first took out the necessary ingredients from the refrigerator, a fresh piece of pork tenderloin, a few plump tomatoes, a bunch of bright green vegetables, a few eggs, a piece of soft tofu, and some shrimp. He placed the pork tenderloin on the cutting board and picked up the sharp kitchen knife next to it. With a slight flick of his wrist, the blade flashed, the exact movements almost invisible, and the tenderloin was sliced evenly into paper-thin slices, each one perfectly measured, as if it had been cut with a ruler. Next, I shredded the meat, just as quickly as lightning, producing evenly sized shreds that were clearly separated from each other. After marinating the shredded meat with a little cooking wine, light soy sauce, and cornstarch, Chen Hao then began processing the tomatoes. He picked up a tomato, made a cross-shaped cut on the top, scalded it with boiling water, and then deftly peeled off the entire tomato skin with his fingers, his movements as fluid as a performance. The peeled tomatoes were quickly chopped into even small pieces under his knife. The pan is heated while the oil is cooled, and the movements are completed in one smooth motion. When the oil temperature reached the perfect point, Chen Hao poured the beaten egg mixture into the pan. With a sizzle, the egg mixture quickly expanded into golden egg flowers, which he skillfully broke up with a spatula and set aside. Using the remaining oil, add the tomato chunks and stir-fry until the tomatoes release their rich juices. Then add the scrambled eggs, season with salt and a little sugar, and a plate of delicious tomato and egg stir-fry is ready. The red and yellow colors are interspersed, and the aroma is irresistible. Next, we made a vegetable and tofu soup. Boil a pot of water, and Chen Hao holds a piece of soft tofu in his palm. With his other hand, he holds a knife, dips the blade lightly into the water, and then quickly makes horizontal and vertical cuts on the tofu. The square tofu block instantly turns into countless thin tofu strands as fine as hair, which sink into the water like a blooming white chrysanthemum. Chapter 46, Checking if my shueo has grown up well. This incredible life skill would likely leave even a professional chef in awe. Once the water boils, add shredded tofu, shrimp, and washed greens. Cook for a short while, season, drizzle with a few drops of sesame oil, and a pot of light and delicious soup is ready. The last dish was the main course, shredded pork with sweet bean sauce. Reheat the oil in the wok until it reaches about 60% of its maximum temperature. Then, Chen Hao gently slides the marinated shredded meat into the wok, and hears a soft sizzle. He gently stirred the meat with a spatula, and the shredded meat quickly changed color and curled up in the hot oil, emitting an enticing aroma. The movements are quick and steady. A few tossing motions in the wok ensure the shredded meat is heated evenly. Then add the carefully prepared sauce, stir-fry quickly so that each shred of meat is evenly coated with the glossy reddish-brown sauce, and finally sprinkle with some shredded green onions for garnish before serving. Just as he was plating the last dish of shredded pork with sweet bean sauce, a system notification clearly appeared in his mind. Ding! Host detected engaging in cooking practice cooking dishes. Congratulations! You have accumulated 123 cooking skill experience points. Ding! Triggered 10000x return effect. You have received a 10000x experience bonus this time. Refund calculation: 123 points 10,000 times equals 1,230,000 experience points. Congratulations! Your cooking skill experience points are full, and your level has increased. Current cooking skill level: epic 1,230,000 10 million. Holy crap! A critical hit with a factor of 10,000. Chen Hao's heart jolted, and an overwhelming surge of joy welled up within him. This was the first time since he obtained the system that he had triggered a critical experience return of 10,000 times. Moreover, his culinary skills have jumped directly from the master level to the epic level. A surge of culinary knowledge and instincts, far more vast and profound than ever before, flooded his mind and body. The characteristics of various ingredients, the ultimate control of heat, the magical combination of seasonings, and even long-lost cooking techniques, it's as if he was born with all of these. He felt that even if he were to face the head chef of state banquets, he would be absolutely confident of winning. In this world, there is probably no one else who can rival him in culinary skills. Awesome! So awesome! Suppressing his excitement, Chen Haoqian looked at the 3 dishes and soup in front of him, which looked and smelled delicious. He felt that they had come to life again in his eyes, and every detail was perfect. He brought the food to the dining table and set out the bowls and chopsticks, only to find that Zhang Shuio had not yet come down. They're probably still packing, Chen Hao thought, deciding to go upstairs to check. He tiptoed up to the 2nd floor, where the door to the master bedroom was ajar. He pushed open the door and, sure enough, saw Zhang Shuio with her back to the door, squatting on the ground, taking clothes out of her open suitcase, seemingly organizing her wardrobe. She seemed completely absorbed and didn't notice Chen Hao's arrival. Looking at Zhang Shuio's slender back and the alluring curves she outlined when she bent over, Chen Hao's playful side was aroused, and a mischievous smile appeared on his face. He approached silently, tiptoeing like a cat. Even when he got very close to Zhang Shuio's back, she still didn't notice. Chen Hao immediately reached out and hugged her from behind, his 2 large hands covering her full, soft, and elastic breasts with incredible precision and speed. Oh! Zhang Shuio screamed in fright at the sudden attack, her body stiffening abruptly. Especially when she felt Chen Hao holding her breasts tightly, a strong sense of shame rushed to her head, making her ears turn bright red. What are you doing? Let go! Zhang Shuio was both embarrassed and anxious. She twisted her body and gently patted Chen Hao's hand, her voice filled with coquettishness. Chen Hao not only didn't let go, but instead took advantage of the situation and gently kneaded it, feeling the amazing elasticity and softness changing shape in his palm. At the same time, he lowered his head, rested his chin on Zhang Shuiyao's shoulder, breathed warm air into her ear, and chuckled softly. Let me check to see if my Shuiyao has been growing well recently. You pervert. You lecherous scoundrel. Who asked you to check me? Zhang Shuiyao blushed at his shameless words and actions, but her body involuntarily went limp, and a familiar heat rose from her lower abdomen and quickly spread throughout her body. She patted less and less, but her breathing gradually became more rapid. Chen Hao felt the gentle trembling of the delicate body in his arms and the gradually rising body temperature, knowing that this little brooding man had already become aroused. He chuckled softly and continued what he was doing, occasionally lightly stroking the sensitive area with his fingertips. Soon, Zhang Shuiyao completely collapsed into his arms, barely having the strength to stand up straight. She suddenly turned around, wrapping her arms around Chen Hao's neck like a water snake. Her alluring eyes glared at him, sparkling, but her gaze held more invitation and longing. Before Chen Hao could speak, she had already tiptoed and offered her fragrant lips, passionately kissing him. A passionate, lingering kiss nearly drained Zhang Shuiyao of all her oxygen. When they parted, both of them were a little out of breath. Zhang Shuiyao's cheeks were flushed, her eyes were glazed, and the desire she had been aroused made her exceptionally bold. As she gasped for breath, she reached out to unbutton Chen Hao's shirt, mumbling indistinctly, "Chen Hao, I want." Just as the situation was about to spiral out of control, Chen Hao remained calm at the critical moment. He quickly grabbed Zhang Shuiyao's restless little hand, his voice slightly hoarse with suppressed emotion. "No. Shuiyao, I've already made dinner, it'll get cold if we don't eat it soon." This sudden break startled Zhang Shuiyao, who was deeply moved, and a feeling of grievance and dissatisfaction welled up in her heart. She pouted her red lips, playfully punched Chen Hao's chest, and said in a resentful tone, "Ugh. You've made me like this, and now you want to eat. You did this on purpose, didn't you?" Looking at her coquettish expression of unsatisfied desire, Chen Hao found her extremely cute. He smiled and hugged her waist tightly, kissed her smooth forehead, and comforted her, "Sweetie, eat first and replenish your energy. When we go to bed tonight, let's have some proper, slow, intimate time, okay?" Upon hearing this, Zhang Shuiyao's eyes lit up immediately, and the dissatisfaction on her face was instantly replaced by anticipation, but she still asked as if to confirm. "Really? You're serious? Tonight, no backing out." "Of course it is," Chen Hao couldn't help but tease her, seeing her eager expression. "Look at you, with such strong desires, yet you never admit you're a little repressed pervert. Hey! You're the one who's a total slut. A real slut." Zhang Shuiyao was embarrassed when her true nature was exposed. Her cheeks turned as red as ripe apples, and she waved her little fists as if to hit Chen Hao. Chen Hao laughed, nimbly dodged, and turned to run out the door. "Stop right there, you stinking Chen Hao." Zhang Shuiyao pouted and, forgetting about the luggage she was only halfway through packing, hurriedly chased after him. The two of them ran from the second floor to the first floor, laughing and joking, one after the other, creating a warm and ambiguous atmosphere in the villa. Chapter 47. It's all your fault for cooking such delicious food. Chen Hao and Zhang Shuiyao arrived at the restaurant on the first floor, laughing and joking. As soon as she reached the restaurant entrance, Zhang Shuiyao sniffed hard, a look of surprise spreading across her face. "Wow! It smells so good. Chen Hao, what did you cook? It smells even better than at lunchtime." "You'll find out soon enough," Chen Hao said with a smile, pulling her to sit down at the dining table. On the table were 3 dishes and a soup: scrambled eggs with tomatoes, a vibrant red and yellow color with a rich broth, shredded pork with sweet bean sauce, glossy and garnished with scallions, and a light and delicious vegetable and tofu soup, topped with shrimp and greens. There was also a plate of stir-fried seasonal vegetables, their vibrant green color making them incredibly appetizing. Chen Hao picked up his chopsticks, took a piece of shredded pork with sweet bean sauce, carefully blew on it, and then brought it to Zhang Shuiyao's lips with gentle eyes. "Here, have a taste, but be careful, it's hot." Zhang Shuiyao felt a sweet warmth in her heart as she watched his considerate actions, and without hesitation, she opened her small mouth and ate the shredded meat. The shredded pork melts in your mouth with a rich, savory sauce that is perfectly balanced between salty and sweet. The meat is so tender that it melts on your tongue with almost no chewing required, leaving a lingering fragrance. She savored it carefully, her eyes widening in disbelief. Finally, after swallowing it, she exclaimed in astonishment, "My God! Chen Hao, your cooking skills have secretly improved again, haven't they? This shredded pork is so much better than what we had for lunch." It's simply indescribable. Chen Hao looked at her exaggerated expression and chuckled inwardly. The effect of this epic cooking skill was indeed extraordinary. He feigned composure, saying, "Really? Maybe I'm just having a better shooting night. It's not that my hands feel better. It's just that my cooking skills have improved." Zhang Shuiao said confidently, picked up her chopsticks, took a piece of scrambled eggs covered in tomato sauce, and carefully offered it to Chen Hao's mouth. "You should try some too, it's really delicious." Chen Hao smiled and took it. The tenderness of the egg and the sweet and sour taste of the tomato blended perfectly, with distinct layers of flavor, and the cooking time was just right. He nodded to himself inwardly. The epic culinary skills were indeed well deserved. The taste is indeed not bad. He nodded. "What do you mean not bad? You're absolutely fantastic." Zhang Shuiao corrected him playfully. Next, the two started feeding each other. "You pick up a piece of shredded meat with your chopsticks and feed it to me, and I scoop up a spoonful of tofu soup, blow on it to cool it down, and then put it to your lips." The restaurant was filled with the aroma of food and the warm, sweet atmosphere between the two. They ate and chatted quietly, discussing which dish was better. Occasionally, Chen Hao would tease Zhang Shuiao, making her playfully complain. In this relaxed and pleasant atmosphere, before they knew it, the two of them had finished all the 3 dishes and soup on the table. Zhang Shuiao put down her chopsticks, leaned back in her chair with satisfaction, and subconsciously touched her slightly protruding belly. Then, a look of annoyance appeared on her face, and she pretended to glare angrily at Chen Hao. "It's all your fault." Chen Hao was drinking the last bit of soup when he heard this and was taken aback. "What's it to blame me for? It's your fault for cooking such delicious food." Zhang Shuiao pouted, poking her stomach with her finger. "Look, I ate so much tonight, I'm definitely going to gain weight. What if I become a big fat person?" Chen Hao couldn't help but laugh when he saw her adorable expression, clearly satisfied yet trying to blame others. He put down the soup bowl and patiently explained, "Don't worry, I've carefully selected the ingredients and prepared the dishes I made, so they won't make you gain weight easily. Look, it's mostly high-protein foods and vegetables." He paused for a moment, then suggested, "Moreover, we can go for a walk now, just stroll around the neighborhood, to aid digestion, which will make us even less likely to gain weight." He paused, looked into Zhang Shuiao's eyes, and his tone became exceptionally serious and gentle. "Even if you really gain weight, even if you become as fat as a little pig, I will never dislike you. I love you no matter what you're like." Hearing these words made Zhang Shuiao feel as if she had been filled with honey, so sweet that she felt flustered, and her cheeks flushed slightly. But she refused to admit defeat, and said coquettishly, "Humph, who wants to become a little pig? I don't want to get fat." As she spoke, she stood up, affectionately took Chen Hao's arm, pressed her soft, firm breasts tightly against his arm, and tilted her head back to say, "Let's go for a walk now, to digest our food. You have to come with me." The wonderful touch on his arm made Chen Hao's heart flutter. He smiled and nodded, "Okay, I'll do as you say. Let's go for a walk." After tidying up a bit, the two left the villa together and took a leisurely stroll in the quiet and beautiful neighborhood. The streetlights cast a soft glow, outlining the shapes of the trees and buildings. The night air was slightly cool, which was very comfortable. Zhang Shuiao clung tightly to Chen Hao's arm, leaning almost half her body weight on him, and naturally resting her head on his shoulder. Looking at her elongated shadow at her feet, feeling the warmth and sense of security emanating from the people around her, her heart was filled with an immense sense of happiness. "Chen Hao," she murmured softly, "it's so nice to just keep walking like this." Chen Hao glanced at her dependent expression and felt a surge of tenderness in his heart. He gently patted the back of her hand that was holding his with his free hand. After walking for a while, Chen Hao remembered the game, so he took out his phone and said to Zhang Shuiao, "Let me check the data on the game platform." Look." Zhang Shuiao remained leaning against him, nodding obediently. Chen Hao skillfully logged into the back-end developer platforms of Steam and WeGame. When he saw the total earnings displayed in the back-end, his heart skipped a beat, and a surge of joy welled up inside him. After deducting platform revenue sharing, the total revenue he earned from Fengshan Auto Chess on these two platforms has reached 1.85 million yuan. Holy crap, 1.85 million. Awesome. He thought to himself, secretly pleased. This money came in faster than a printing press. However, he remained outwardly calm and did not intend to tell Zhang Shuiao the specific number for the time being, wanting to wait for a more suitable time to give her a surprise. He casually clicked on the game's community review section on Steam to see player feedback. Upon seeing this, he couldn't help but burst out laughing. In the comments section, several messages stood out, their IDs clearly belonging to his 3 lively roommates. Chapter 48 Huge Pocket Money. Comment from Liechensheiming Don Lettian, brothers, isn't this game awesome? Let me tell you, this game was developed entirely by my good brother. From coding to graphic design, he handled it all by himself. And it took him less than a day. Are you impressed? This comment received many replies. Game Guru Lao Wang, really? Less than a day? Independently developed? Bro, you're really exaggerating. Strategy enthusiast, the game is good, but developing it independently in one day, that's a bit of an exaggeration. Little White Rabbit, wow. Is the author really that amazing? I want to get to know them. 30 years of professional debunking at Happy Knowing Destiny. No pictures, no truth. Show me the evidence. Otherwise, it's just bragging. Immediately afterwards, he saw Bayou's comment. Bayou's comment on White Knight Walk at Liechensheiming is absolutely right. At Haoshua Technology is my good brother in the dormitory, a super academic genius in the computer science department of Shanghai University. This function auto chess game was indeed independently developed by him, in an extremely short time, with astonishing efficiency. We guarantee it with our integrity. The following also raises similar questions. The ultimate troll, guaranteeing with your personal integrity? Are you all in cahoots? A coordinated publicity stunt? A netizen commented, from Shanghai University? Wow! But completing it in one day, it really sounds like a myth. Auto chess enthusiast, the game quality is indeed high, not like a shoddy production, but if it was really completed by one person in a day, that's simply divine. Then Fan Xing's comment style became more direct. Comment from Starry Night Fan Xing, bragging? At Trollmaster at 30 years of professional disruptor, do I need to brag to you guys? My brother at Haoshua Tech is awesome. The game is here, the quality speaks for itself. If you're not satisfied, try making one yourself. If you can't, shut up. I watched him make it with my own eyes, in less than a day, so what? The comments section below this highly charged comment was even more heated. 30 years of professional demolitionist replied to it Starry Sky, oh ho, getting angry? Such poor manners? This is obviously fabricated. The ultimate troll replied to it, TSK, getting all worked up, looks like we were right. Optimistic in content with fate replied to it Professional Demolisher for 30 years at Professional Demolisher for 30 years, you're the one who's getting angry. Your whole family is getting angry. My brother is awesome. White Knight Walk replied to it Argumentative person at Argumentative person, please watch your words. We can have a rational discussion, but please refrain from personal attacks. Facts speak louder than words. Twinkling Stars replied to it 30 years of professional disruptor at 30 years of professional disruptor, this is my style. Dealing with a troll like you doesn't require style. Watching his 3 roommates argue fiercely with some questioning netizens in the comments section to defend him, engaging in various online battles, Chen Hao felt both touched and amused. These guys. Zhang Shuya leaned on Chen Hao's arm, noticing him staring intently at his phone screen and occasionally smiling, and couldn't help but ask curiously. What are you looking at? You seem so engrossed. Chen Hao tilted his phone screen slightly towards her and said with a smile. It's nothing, just checking the back-end data of my game to see how much revenue it's generating. Profits? Zhang Shuyao's interest was piqued, and she looked at him with sparkling eyes. By the way, you said before that games are quite profitable, how much have you made so far? Chen Hao didn't intend to hide it from her and said directly, I just checked, and after deducting the platform's share, the total revenue from both platforms is 1.85 million. 1,850,000? Zhang Shuyo stopped in her tracks, her mouth slightly agape, staring at Chen Hao in disbelief. My god. Chen Hao, you're amazing. You just wrote a game and you made more money than my allowance. Her words were purely out of genuine amazement, but they surprised Chen Hao, who paused for a moment. He asked curiously, more than your allowance? Shueyao, how much allowance do you have? Zhang Shueyao blinked, seemingly unconcerned, and answered naturally, I still have about 1.56 million yuan left in pocket money. 1,560,000? And that's the rest? Chen Hao was truly shocked this time. He knew that Zhang Shueyao came from an extremely wealthy family and was a true heiress. But the seemingly ordinary phrase pocket money, followed by a figure of over 1.5 million, still made him deeply aware of the huge difference in their backgrounds. This is definitely not the same world. When the topic of pocket money came up, Zhang Shuiao seemed to suddenly remember something important. She took Chenhao's arm again and walked slowly forward, saying in a seemingly casual tone, "Chenhao, I have something to tell you." "Huh? What's going on?" Chenhao snapped out of his shock at the huge amount of pocket money. "It's my allowance, that 1.56 million. Zhang Shuiao turned her head to look at him, her eyes filled with expectation and a hint of barely perceptible nervousness. "I also want to do what Latte and the others do, give you my money and let you invest in stocks for me, is that okay?" She paused, then quickly added, "Just like they said, we'll split the profits 50-50. If I accidentally lose money, it's on me, it has nothing to do with you, so please don't feel pressured." Chenhao looked at Zhang Shuiao. The girl's eyes appeared exceptionally clear and bright under the streetlights. He understood her true intentions almost instantly. Was she really that eager to make money through stock trading? For her, 1.56 million yuan was probably just a sum of pocket money that she could freely spend. Her real purpose was to help him. Chenhao still remembers that when he decided to invest in stocks and needed startup capital, Zhang Shuiao offered to lend him money, but he politely declined. He wasn't unaware of her feelings, but as a man, he had his own pride and principles, and didn't want to use his girlfriend's money at the beginning of his career, as that would make him feel useless. Now, Zhang Shuiao has changed her approach. Under the guise of investment, she entrusted her money to him for management and proactively proposed seemingly fair and even biased terms, such as splitting the profits 50-50 and bearing all losses herself. This both saved face for him and genuinely increased his capital, allowing him to manage larger operations and earn more profits. This thoughtful and considerate act of protecting his self-esteem filled Chenhao with a surge of warmth and gratitude. Chapter 49. Who wants to shower with you? Dream on. Chenhao didn't break the ice. Silently accepting and reciprocating some sentiments was the best response. He stopped, turned around, gently placed his hands on Zhang Shuiao's shoulders, looked into her eyes, and nodded solemnly. "Okay. Shuiao, thank you for your trust. Don't worry, I will definitely help you, and also help ourselves, to make lots and lots of money." Seeing that he agreed so readily, Zhang Shuiao finally felt relieved, and a bright smile bloomed on her face. She didn't really care how much she earned as long as it made things easier for Chenhao. She would be happy. "Yes. I believe you." She nodded vigorously. "It doesn't matter how much or how little you earn, just go for it." With the matter settled, the two continued their walk. As Chenhao walked, he took out his phone and opened the stock trading app. Now that his funds have increased, he needs to carefully plan his next move. Having master-level stock trading skills, analyzing stocks is naturally a breeze for them. His fingers swiped rapidly across the screen, his eyes focused, his mind rapidly filtering through a vast amount of information: candlestick charts, trading volume changes, company financial reports, industry trends, market news. Soon, a Hong Kong stock called Universal Technology caught his attention. This is a company that primarily provides cloud computing and big data services. Through in-depth analysis, Chenhao astutely identified several key signals. The company is about to announce a major technological breakthrough, has reached a potential cooperation agreement with an international giant, and has recently seen powerful speculative funds quietly accumulating positions, with the market showing clear signs of an upward trend. Based on his comprehensive assessment, he believes that, driven by both positive news and capital inflows, the cumulative increase in the stock price of Huanyu Technology is very likely to exceed 20% in the next 2 trading days. That's it. Chenhao immediately made up his mind. He would start building a position in batches and go long on this stock as soon as the market opened tomorrow. Just as he finished his analysis and made his decision, the familiar system notification arrived as expected. Ding! Host detected engaging in stock trading practice analyzing stock price trends. Congratulations! You have accumulated 108 stock trading experience points. Ding! Triggered a 10,000x return effect. You have received a 999x experience bonus. Refund calculation: 108 points 999 times equals 107,892 experience points. Current stock trading skill level: Grandmaster 227,761 1 million. Gained another wave of experience, awesome. Chenhao happily put away his phone, looked up at the sky, and then glanced at the time, realizing it was almost 10 p.m. He put his arm around Zhang Shuiao's shoulder and said softly, "Shuiao, it's almost 10 o'clock. Let's go back. Wash up and go to bed." Zhang Shuiao was also a little tired from the walk, so she nodded obediently. "Okay, let's go back." The two then turned around and headed toward their villa, which was lit with warm lights. Zhang Shuao affectionately linked arms with Chen Hao, her soft and elastic breasts pressed tightly against his arm. The two strolled back to their warm villa from the quiet neighborhood. Going straight up to the master bedroom on the second floor, Chen Hao looked at Zhang Shuao beside him, her cheeks slightly flushed and her eyes sparkling. A surge of warmth rose in his heart, and a mischievous smile appeared on his face. He leaned close to her ear and whispered, "Shuao, it's getting late, let's shower together. It'll save water and time." Zhang Shuao's pretty face flushed even redder, like a ripe apple. She was actually quite excited and expectant, but her long-standing reserve made her subconsciously say coquettishly, "Shameless. Who wants to shower with you? Dream on." After saying that, as if afraid of being caught by Chen Hao, she quickly took out her clean silk pajamas from the closet, hugged them to her arms, and walked towards the ensuite bathroom of the master bedroom with a somewhat hurried pace, pretending to be calm. Chen Hao couldn't help but laugh as he watched her adorable, contradictory, and hastily fleeing figure. He knew this seemingly aloof but secretly passionate girl all too well. He had no intention of letting her escape, so he quickly took out his pajamas and hurried after her. In the bathroom, Zhang Shuao had just put her pajamas on the dry rack and was about to take them off when she heard the door being pushed open. She turned around and saw Chen Hao walking in with a smile, carrying his pajamas. Her heart pounded like a deer's, and a mix of shyness and excitement welled up inside her. She forced herself to remain calm, put on a stern face, and used a trembling, coquettish tone to mask her inner panic. How did you get in here? Get out, get out. I want to wash myself." Chen Hao, with skin as thick as a city wall, slammed the door shut behind him and approached with a grin. "Of course you let me in. I'll help you, it's so inconvenient for you to take off your clothes by yourself." As he spoke, his hand reached out and began to unbutton her blouse. "You scoundrel! Your skin is thicker than a city wall." Zhang Shuai gave his hand a symbolic pat, but the force was so light it was like a caress. She cursed him, but her body betrayed her by subtly cooperating with his movements. Chen Hao chuckled, his hands moving nimbly as he unbuttoned her clothes, his fingertips occasionally accidentally brushing against her smooth, delicate skin. Feeling its amazing elasticity and warmth, I felt a secret pleasure, and I thoroughly enjoyed the sensation. After taking off her clothes and being completely naked, Zhang Shuao's face was so red it was almost bleeding. She was too shy to look at Chen Hao, but she was not to be outdone. She stretched out her slightly trembling hand and began to unbutton Chen Hao's shirt as a way of reciprocating the courtesy. Soon, both of their clothes were piled haphazardly in the laundry basket next to them. The shower head was turned on, and warm water sprayed down, gradually filling the entire bathroom with steam. Under the cover of the flowing water, the initial shyness slowly faded away, replaced by an intimate warmth and playful banter. They helped each other apply shower gel, the fine foam covering their entire bodies. Chen Hao's large hands circled her smooth back, carefully rubbing it for her, while Zhang Shuao blushed and used her foam-covered hands to gently apply the foam to his muscular chest and back. During the process, some accidental touches and playful interactions were inevitable. Chen Hao deliberately tickled her, and Zhang Shuao laughed and dodged, then splashed him with water. The two laughed and joked around in the not-so-large shower room, their crisp laughter and the sound of running water mingling together, filled with joy and love. After a long and sweet bath together, the two dried themselves off, changed into clean pajamas, and walked out of the bathroom together, both carrying the fresh scent of the same shower gel. Chapter 50: Zhang Shuao's Hug Revenge. Arriving at the soft, spacious bed, Zhang Shuao first slipped into the covers, and Chen Hao followed suit, reaching out to pull her into his arms. Zhang Shuao nestled against his chest, listening to his strong heartbeat. She recalled the scene on the second floor before dinner and the promise he made, and her heart began to flutter again. She raised her head, leaned close to Chen Hao's ear, her breath sweet as orchids, and asked in a very soft voice, with a hint of coquetry and expectation. "Hey, you haven't forgotten what you promised me, have you?" Looking into her shy yet spring-like eyes, Chen Hao knew perfectly well what she meant. He teased her deliberately, gently flicking the tip of her nose with his finger and laughing. "What's up?" "I don't remember." "Oh, I remember now, some repressed little pervert can't wait any longer?" "You're the one who's secretly a pervert." Zhang Shuai was extremely embarrassed and playfully punched him in the chest. "You were the one who seduced me first. Now you're trying to deny it. How could I dare to go back on my word?" Chen Hao chuckled, tightening his arms around her. With a swift movement, he rolled over, trapping her beneath him, and looked down into her bright eyes, still shining even in the dim light. "I'm just keeping my promise." "Humph, that's more like it." Zhang Shuao snorted, but her arms wrapped around his neck. The two teased each other about being secretly passionate while naturally becoming intimate. Since Zhang Shuao was only 2 months pregnant, they tacitly avoided taking the final step. But this doesn't stop them from expressing their love and desire in other ways. Kissing, caressing, whispering sweet nothings. Chen Hao used all his gentleness and patience to guide and satisfy the girl in his arms. Zhang Shuao gradually became bolder and more engaged, responding to him with a mix of awkwardness and enthusiasm. After a long while, the storm subsided. Zhang Shuao lay limply in Chen Hao's arms, her cheeks flushed, her eyes glazed, and she was breathing slightly, looking both satisfied and wanting more. Chen Hao gently stroked her smooth back, his heart filled with warmth and satisfaction. Holding Zhang Shuao, who was like a lazy kitten, Chen Hao's thoughts began to turn to tomorrow. He has already created a song called Unfinished Melody today, and it's very well done. He plans to buy some professional musical instruments and recording equipment tomorrow to officially record the song, and then upload it to a music platform to open up a new way to make money. At the same time, he can also use the system to create a few more songs of different styles to make up a mini album, about 10 songs, and release them together, which should have a better effect. Having made up his mind, he looked down at Zhang Shuao in his arms and found that she had fallen asleep at some point. Her long eyelashes, like two small fans, cast a faint shadow under her eyelids, and a sweet, contented smile lingered on her lips. Chen Hao felt a surge of tenderness in his heart. He gently kissed her forehead, adjusted to a comfortable position, and held her close as they drifted off to sleep. The next morning, Chen Hao woke up right on time, just as his biological clock would tell. The sky outside the window was already beginning to lighten. He looked down and saw Zhang Shuao still sleeping soundly in his arms. Her beautiful face still bore the traces of happiness and contentment from the previous night, and her lips were slightly upturned, as if she were having a sweet dream. He couldn't resist leaning over again and gently kissing her smooth cheek before carefully pulling out his slightly numb arm and getting out of bed. After quietly washing up, Chen Hao went downstairs to the kitchen, tied on an apron, and began preparing breakfast. With his epic culinary skills, making breakfast is a piece of cake for him. He skillfully cracked the eggs, preparing to make a nutritious and delicious egg pancake, while also thinking about which recording equipment he needed to buy today. Just as he was focused on the egg pancakes in the pan, which were almost done, he heard extremely faint, almost inaudible footsteps behind him. At the same time, a unique, elegant, and pleasant fragrance wafted over from Zhang Shuao. Chen Hao's heart skipped a beat, and he immediately guessed that this petty girl was probably trying to do what he had done yesterday, to secretly scare him from behind and get revenge for yesterday's hug. A barely perceptible smile played at the corners of his lips. He decided to play along, pretending not to notice her approach at all. Still focused intently on the pancakes in the pan, her hands never stopped moving, as if she were completely devoted to the great cause of breakfast. Chen Hao was pretending to be completely focused on frying eggs when he suddenly heard a clear shout from behind him, "Wow!" Immediately afterwards, a warm, soft body suddenly hugged him from behind, two incredibly elastic and soft mounds pressed firmly against his back through the thin nightgown. Oops! Chen Hao deliberately flinched, almost dropping the spatula, then turned around, feigning a startled expression. "You scared me to death." "Who was it?" Zhang Shuao peeked out from behind him, her face beaming with a smug smile of triumph after her prank, her eyes crinkling into crescents. "Ha ha! You scared me, didn't you? Serves you right for scaring me yesterday. Now we're even." Seeing her smug little face, Chen Hao felt a surge of warmth in his heart and was not about to let her go so easily. He quickly turned off the stove, then suddenly turned around, wrapped his arm around Zhang Shuao, and pulled her into his arms. "You little rascal, daring to ambush me so early in the morning?" Chen Hao lowered his head, looking at her face that flushed instantly, and grinned mischievously. As he spoke, his hand had already slipped under the hem of her nightgown, precisely grasping that high, soft mound. Without any hesitation, I held it in my palm and gently kneaded it, feeling its amazing elasticity and fullness changing shape in my hands. "Ah, you pervert!" Zhang Shuao trembled as if an electric current had passed through her body from his sudden attack. She struggled symbolically for a moment, but quickly succumbed to the skilled kneading. Her body went limp involuntarily, and she leaned against Chen Hao, panting heavily, her cheeks flushed crimson. "Quick, let go, the breakfast is going to burn." "Don't worry, the fire's off." Chen Hao not only didn't let go, but instead intensified his actions, wrapping his other arm around her slender waist and whispering a laugh in her ear. "Dare to scare me? This is your punishment." The two lingered in the kitchen for quite a while in the early morning, until Zhang Shuya was almost too tired to stand any longer and pleaded for mercy with a coquettish tone. Chen Haotsai reluctantly let go of her hand and gently patted her shapely buttocks. "All right, let's eat first, I'll settle the score with you tonight." Rogue. Zhang Shuya blushed as she straightened her disheveled pajamas, muttering to herself, but obediently helped Chen Hao bring the fried eggs, toasted bread, and warmed milk to the dining room. Chapter 51, Third Epic Skill. During the meal, the two resumed their pattern of feeding each other. Zhang Shuya took a bite of the fried egg Chen Hao offered her. It was crispy on the outside and tender on the inside, cooked to perfection. She squinted her eyes in satisfaction. "Chen Hao, how come your breakfast is so delicious? I feel like you're making me fat." "It's good to be a little chubby, it's more comfortable to hug." Chen Hao smiled and took a sip of the milk she handed him. After breakfast, the two tidied up and prepared to go to school. Zhang Shuya was still driving, and Chen Hao was sitting in the passenger seat. When I got to the classroom, it was the same old spot. Chen Hao, Zhang Shuya, along with Dong Letian, Baiyu, Fan Xing, and Tian Xinyu who joined in, filled a whole row. Dong Letian looked at Chen Hao and Zhang Shuya, who were sitting close together with their arms almost touching, and teased them with a wink. "Hey Haozi, Shuya, you two are always together, you're practically conjoined twins. It hurts the eyes of us single folks." Baiyu adjusted his glasses and added in a serious tone. According to incomplete statistics, in the 5 minutes since Hao entered the classroom this morning, there have been 8 unconscious physical contacts between Hao and his sister-in-law, and their eye contact frequency has exceeded 3 times per minute. The adhesion is truly amazing. Tian Xinyue chimed in with a grin. "Exactly. Yao Yao, now you only see Chen Hao, don't you see us at all?" Zhang Shuya felt a little embarrassed by what they said, and secretly pinched Chen Hao's thigh, as if to say, "It's all your fault." Chen Hao, thick-skinned, readily accepted the situation. Instead, he put his arm around Zhang Shuya's shoulder and laughed at his roommates. "What? Envious? If you're envious, go find one yourself. TCH. A chorus of boos erupted, but it was all good-natured laughter. Chen Hao didn't pay much attention in the morning classes. He took out a brand new notebook and began to concentrate on composing songs. His epic musical skills allow him to be inspired like a spring, with various melodies, chords, and lyrics flowing naturally in his mind. He wrote down complete songs with great skill, from the melody to the lyrics, and even some initial ideas for the arrangement. For the entire morning, apart from occasionally responding to Zhang Shuya's concerned gaze, he was almost entirely immersed in his creative work. By the time the bell rang for the end of the last class in the morning, he had already completed drafts of 9 songs, each with a different style but of extremely high quality. Just as he put down his pen and closed his notebook, a system notification sounded in his mind precisely on time. Ding! Host detected engaging in music practice composing a song. "I wrote this for you." Chen Hao's tone was natural, with a hint of tenderness. The song Unfinished Melody from last time was just the beginning. "I want to write more songs for you to record our little moments together." Zhang Shuya's grip on the steering wheel tightened slightly, her heart instantly filled with immense emotion, and a surge of warmth rushed to her eyes. She never expected that Chen Hao's original intention in creating the song was like this. "Chen Hao." Her voice choked with emotion, unsure of what to say. Chen Hao smiled and continued, "Moreover, I plan to record these songs properly and upload them to music platforms. It can serve as a memento of our love, and who knows, we might even make some money from it." "Make money?" Zhang Shuyo snapped out of her daze and became somewhat curious. "Can these songs make money?" Although she thought Chen Hao sang well and wrote songs well, she didn't understand the music market. "Why not give it a try?" Chen Hao said confidently. "Once I get the equipment set up, record it, and upload it, you'll know, right?" After lunch and a short rest, Chen Hao took Zhang Shuyo out. His goal was clear a well-known professional musical instrument and audio equipment store in the city. Upon entering the store, one is overwhelmed by the dazzling array of musical instruments, audio equipment, and recording devices. Zhang Shuyo looked around curiously. She didn't know much about musical instruments, but she felt that everything here looked very professional and expensive. Chen Hao, however, seemed to have returned to his familiar territory, his gaze calmly sweeping over the rows of musical instruments. He first went to the guitar section, casually picked up an expensive folk guitar, lightly ran his fingers across the strings, strummed a few chords, listened closely to the sound of the soundbox, and then said to the shop assistant next to him, "This one has a bright tone, but the bass resonance is a bit lacking." Do you have a Martin D28 or Gibson J45 in stock? I'd like to try them out. Upon hearing this, the shop assistant knew they had encountered someone knowledgeable and immediately became even more respectful, rushing to retrieve the instrument. Zhang Xueyao, who was watching from the side, was stunned and asked in a low voice, "Chenhao, you know how to play the guitar?" "I know a little bit," Chenhao said with a modest smile. After trying several top brand guitars, Chenhao quickly selected one with a balanced sound and excellent playability. Next, he went to the keyboard area and tried out several mainstream synthesizers and MIDI keyboards. His fingers moved nimbly across the black and white keys, effortlessly producing complex and melodious tunes. Not only did the shop assistant's eyes widen, but several other customers who were choosing musical instruments in the store couldn't help but stop and listen, whispering among themselves, "Is this guy a professional musician?" Zhang Xueya watched with rapt attention, her eyes filled with admiration. She never expected Chenhao to be such a good keyboard player. Chapter 52: Applying for a driver's license. After selecting the main musical instruments, Chenhao began choosing recording equipment. Sound card, microphone, monitoring headphones, audio interface. He spoke fluently and knowledgeably about the advantages and disadvantages of different brands and models. Things like, this condenser microphone's frequency response curve is more suitable for recording vocals, that sound card has better dynamic range and low latency, and this monitoring system has the most accurate soundstage reproduction. He rattled off a string of technical terms, leaving the shop assistants nodding in admiration. Zhang Xueya couldn't understand the technical terms at all, but she could sense Chenhao's absolute authority in this field from the amazed and admiring looks in the eyes of the shop assistants and other customers. She linked arms with Chenhao, watching him navigate the complex equipment with ease and making decisions, her heart filled with pride and joy. In the end, Chenhao selected a complete set of professional-grade musical instruments, recording and monitoring equipment, which was quite expensive, but he paid for it by card without even blinking and had the store deliver it directly to his villa. On the way back, Zhang Xueyo couldn't help but look at Chenhao with sparkling eyes, exclaiming in amazement, "Chenhao, how many things are there that I don't know about you? How do you know so much about these things? You seem more professional than the people selling things in the store." Chenhao chuckled and pinched her nose. "Your husband knows a lot more than that. You'll find out as time goes on." Having purchased the complete set of musical instrument recording equipment, Zhang Xueya thought it was time to go home. Just as she started the car, Chenhao said, "Xueya, don't rush back. Take me to the driving school. I want to register first." "Go now?" Zhang Xueya was a little surprised, but quickly nodded. "Okay, let's strike while the iron is hot. I know a good driving school, that's where I learned to drive, and the instructors were all very nice." She turned the steering wheel, and the car drove in another direction. Not long after, the car stopped in front of a driving school called Changda Driving School. The area here is quite spacious, and several training vehicles are practicing reversing into parking spaces and parallel parking. The moment the two got out of the car, they immediately attracted a lot of attention. Zhang Xueya's appearance and temperament are so outstanding that she becomes the center of attention wherever she goes, especially in a driving school where male students are the majority. Several male trainees who were resting or waiting stared wide-eyed, until they saw Zhang Xueya very naturally reach out and take Chenhao's arm. Her entire upper body was almost pressed against his, and when her full breasts pressed tightly against Chenhao's arm, the gazes instantly changed from amazement to undisguised envy and jealousy, and everyone felt sour inside. "Damn, who's that guy? He's got incredible luck. My goddess, she's taken. That kid looks just average, why?" Faint whispers drifted over, but Chenhao pretended not to hear them. Instead, he straightened his back, let Zhang Xueya take his arm, and walked straight toward the registration area. Zhang Xueya didn't care about other people's opinions at all, she only had eyes for Chenhao. The person in charge of reception at the registration desk was the owner of the driving school, a middle-aged woman in her 40s who looked quite capable. Everyone called her Sister Lu. As soon as Sister Lu looked up and saw Zhang Xueya, her face immediately lit up with a warm smile. "Hey! Xueya! What brings you here? It's been a while since I've seen you, you've gotten even more beautiful." She was clearly very familiar with Zhang Xueya. "Hello, Sister Lu," Zhang Xueya greeted sweetly, pulling Chenhao forward. "This is my boyfriend, Chenhao. He wants to sign up for driving lessons, so I brought him here." Sister Lu then turned her gaze to Chenhao, looked him up and down, and smiled as she said to Zhang Xueya, "Good eye, young man. Xueya is our driving school star student. She's beautiful and learns to drive very quickly. Okay, you're registering, right? Did you bring your ID card? Just fill out a form, take a photo, it'll be quick. Accompanied by Zhang Shuiyao, Chen Hao quickly filled out the registration form, paid the fee, and had his photo taken for his admission ticket. Throughout the entire process, Zhang Shuiyao held his hand tightly and wouldn't let go, occasionally leaning over to watch him fill out the form. They were incredibly intimate. Sister Lu watched from the side, a warm smile on her face the whole time. After completing the formalities, Zhang Shuiyao remembered something and said to Sister Lu, "Sister Lu, could you arrange for Chen Hao to be coached by Jiang Lei? She's the female coach who taught me before. I think she teaches very carefully and has a good temper." "Coach Jiang? No problem. She has training students right now, I'll talk to her later." "Shuiyao, the students you recommend are definitely top-notch." Sister Lu readily agreed, then took out her phone. "Come on, young man, add me on WeChat. I'll add you to our driving school student group. All the announcements and driving practice appointments will be in the group." Chen Hao added Sister Lu on WeChat and was quickly added to a WeChat group called Changda Driving School Student Family. Immediately, people in the group chat started cheering, "Welcome newbie. Newbie, post a picture." Sister Lu sent a message, "New student Chen Hao, Coach Jiang Lei will be in charge. Everyone, please welcome him." Below is another batch of welcoming emojis. Zhang Shuiyao was in a good mood as she left the driving school, and said to Chen Hao while driving, "All done. When you get back, use the mobile app to practice the questions for the theory test part 1, go through the question bank once, and then you can schedule the exam. Once I pass the written test, I can officially start learning to drive with Coach Jiang." "Okay, I understand." Chen Hao nodded. This little thing was no problem for a top student like him. When the two returned to the villa, the delivery truck from the music and audio equipment store arrived just then. Under Chen Hao's direction, several delivery men carefully carried boxes of various sizes into a relatively soundproof empty room on the first floor of the villa. Zhang Shuiyao followed along with great interest, watching Chen Hao unpack, install, and debug. He moved swiftly and skillfully, demonstrating a thorough understanding of the interfaces and functions of various equipment. Install a professional sound card and audio interface, connect a condenser microphone and pop filter, and set up the monitor speakers and headphones. The MIDI keyboard, synthesizer, and several expensive guitars and basses were set up, and finally, professional sound-absorbing curtains were drawn, and a thick carpet was laid on the floor. In less than 2 hours, a decent, fully equipped professional home recording studio was created by Chen Hao. While it can't compare to a top-notch recording studio, it's more than enough for personal creation and recording high-quality demos. Zhang Shuiyao helped by handing over a tool and wiping away the dust. Watching Chen Hao's focused and skillful profile, she was filled with admiration. This guy seems to be able to do everything? Chapter 53, Record songs and upload them to music platforms. With the recording studio ready, Chen Hao couldn't wait to start working. He first opened the professional audio workstation software on his computer, skillfully created the project file, and set the sampling rate in tracks. "Let's start with something simple," he muttered to himself, picking up the folk guitar, plugging in the microphone, and testing the sound. Then, he faced the microphone and began recording the guitar accompaniment for the first song. His fingers danced across the strings, producing a smooth and beautiful melody, played flawlessly in one go. Next, he switched to the MIDI keyboard and began recording the piano intro and string background. His hands danced across the black and white keys, producing complex chords and beautiful melodies that, through high-quality sampled audio sources, were transformed into a richly textured audio track on the computer. He even recorded a real drum machine rhythm, adjusting the timbre and intensity of each percussion instrument. Then came the bass lines, the prelude of synthesizer sounds. Zhang Shuiyao sat in the monitoring chair next to her, wearing headphones, completely mesmerized. She was not only amazed by Chen Hao's proficiency in various instruments, guitar, keyboard, bass, and even drum arrangement was quite impressive, but also deeply attracted by the music itself coming through the headphones. The 10 songs composed by Chen Hao are diverse in style, ranging from deeply affectionate love songs to upbeat and moving pop tunes. There's even an inspirational song with a touch of rock, but without exception, the melodies are extremely catchy, the lyrics are sincere and moving, and the arrangements are rich in layers without appearing cluttered. She watched Chen Hao busy at the mixing console, wearing monitoring headphones, sometimes frowning in thought, sometimes rapidly manipulating the mouse and faders, adjusting the volume, equalizer, and effects of each track. That focused and professional aura made her heart race involuntarily, and her eyes filled with endless admiration and love. This is no longer the academic genius Chen Hao she knew. This is clearly an all-around musical prodigy. After what seemed like an eternity, Chen Hao finally let out a long sigh, took off his headphones, and rubbed his slightly sore neck. Alright, all 10 songs are recorded and mixed up. He had a satisfied smile on his face. That's amazing. Zhang Shuiao excitedly rushed over and hugged his arm. Chen Hao, your songs are so well written. Your playing is amazing. And your recording is so professional. I don't even know how to praise you enough. Chen Hao smiled, hugged her, and kissed her on the cheek. I'm glad you like them. I'll upload them to the music platform right away. He quickly logged into the Kugo Music Artist backend, uploaded 10 songs in sequence, filled in the song information, uploaded a simple cover image using a photo of his shadow and Zhang Shuiao's, and submitted it for review. Alright, just wait for the approval. Chen Hao turned off his computer. Zhang Shuiao asked curiously, Chen Hao, do you think these songs can really make money? She still finds it hard to believe that songwriting and singing can become a stable source of income. Chen Hao was very calm. He pulled her to sit down on the sofa in the recording studio and put his arm around her shoulder. It would be best if we could make money, as it would give us another avenue. But even if we don't make any, or don't make much, it's okay. Anyway, we already have revenue from games and are also investing in stocks, so we don't need this little bit more. These songs were mainly written for you. I'll be happy if I can share them with others. Hearing this, Zhang Shuiao felt a sweet warmth in her heart, and nodded, leaning on his shoulder. Yes, you're right. Anyway, my husband is the best, he can do anything. Oh, right, she suddenly remembered something, and looked up. Did you trade stocks today? Did you make any moves? Of course I did it, Chen Hao said, taking out his phone and showing her the trading app. I finished it before class this morning. I went long on Hong Kong stock Universal Technology. Go long? Zhang Shuiao had recently been cramming on some stock trading knowledge. Let me check. She searched for the stock on her phone, looked at the candlestick chart, and frowned slightly. This stock, hasn't it been falling lately? The trend doesn't seem good. If you go long, isn't the risk too great? She asked with some concern. Chen Hao, however, seemed confident. He took Zhang Shuiao's phone, pointed to several messages on the screen and deeper data she couldn't see, and explained simply. Look, its recent decline is due to the drag from the overall market and profit taking from previous gains, but the company's fundamentals are very good, there are potential major positive news, and smart money is quietly accumulating shares. My analysis is that it will rebound soon, and the rebound will be strong. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. Seeing his confidence, Zhang Shuiao, though still somewhat skeptical, chose to believe him. Fine, whatever you say goes. But, you used leverage again, didn't you? She recalled the astonishing returns Chen Hao achieved when he first shorted a stock. Chen Hao laughed, of course, you can only amplify your returns by using leverage properly. But don't worry, I know what I'm doing, and the risks are controllable. After finishing their business, Chen Hao checked the time and realized it was getting late. He stood up and pulled Zhang Shuiao up as well, holding her soft little hand, a mischievous smile playing on his lips. It's getting late. We've been working all day and we're all sweaty. Let's go upstairs, and take a bath together? Zhang Shuiao's face flushed instantly, her eyes darting away, but she habitually uttered a coquettish retort. Who wants to take a bath with you? Shameless. Oh? Really? Chen Hao didn't believe her, and without saying another word, he pulled her upstairs. I wonder who had a really fun time taking a bath yesterday. You're talking nonsense. I didn't. Zhang Shuiao retorted verbally, but her feet obediently followed him, without the slightest intention of struggling. After entering the master bedroom's bathroom, Chen Hao closed the door behind him. Warm water sprayed down from the showerhead overhead, quickly wetting their clothes and clinging to their bodies, outlining their alluring curves. The misty vapor spread out, blurring the mirror's surface and softening the light. The initial shyness quickly dissipated in the warm water and intimate environment. Chen Hao helped Zhang Shuiao take off her soaking wet clothes, and Zhang Shuiao blushed as she helped him unbutton his clothes with trembling fingers. Skin to skin, warm water flowed over them, sending shivers down their spines. Let me scrub your back. Chen Hao squeezed out some shower gel, lathered it up, and carefully applied it to Zhang Shuiao's smooth, jade-like back, gently rubbing his large hands in circles. Zhang Shuiao hummed comfortably, her back to him, feeling the pressure and warmth of his fingers, her body relaxing slightly. When it was Zhang Shuiao's turn to help Chen Hao, she seemed a little clumsy, but her earnestness and shyness made Chen Hao's heart flutter. As they washed, one of them started splashing water at the other, just like yesterday. The cramped space was filled with laughter, the sound of water, and ambiguous panting. Zhang Shuiao accidentally slipped, but Chen Hao quickly caught her around the waist, and their wet bodies pressed tightly together. Water droplets dripped from the ends of her hair, sliding down her flushed cheeks and delicate collarbone. Chen Hao lowered his head and kissed her moist lips. Zhang Shuiao let out a soft moan, wrapped her arms around his neck, and responded passionately. The shower water continued to flow, and the rising steam made the two figures intertwined even more hazy, leaving only warmth and romance in the room. Chapter 54. The rising star of the music scene was amazed by Chen Hao's song. Late at night, the lights were on in a luxury apartment in an upscale downtown neighborhood. Having just returned from a day of work, Li Yichuan removed her elaborate makeup, changed into comfortable loungewear, and finally had some time to herself. She rubbed her slightly sore shoulders, nestled into the large, soft sofa in the living room, and habitually picked up her phone to open the Kugou music app. This is a habit she has developed over the years. In her spare time, she always makes time to listen to new songs on various music platforms, both to relax and to find inspiration and observe market trends. As one of the most popular female pop singers in China today, Li Yichuan's resume is dazzling. A graduate of the Zhejiang Conservatory of Music, she quickly rose to fame with several high-quality singles shortly after her debut, thanks to her outstanding voice and solid singing skills. Her songs have catchy melodies and delicate emotional expression, winning the hearts of many fans. At just over 20 years old, she already holds prestigious awards such as Best Female Singer at the 32nd Top Chinese Music Awards and Best Singer of the Year at the 2025 Weibo Music Awards. She is recognized in the industry as a music star who combines talent and popularity. She skillfully swiped the screen, clicking into sections like new songs or independent musicians, casually listening to some of the newly released songs recommended by the platform that day. After listening to a few songs, she shook her head slightly, finding some melodies mediocre, some arrangements rough, and some performances truly underwhelming. She lost interest. Just as she was about to close the app and take a bath to relax, her fingertip accidentally swiped across the screen, and a new song called Unfinished Melody was pushed to a prominent position on the homepage. The song title sounded interesting, so she casually pressed play and connected her phone to the high-fidelity Bluetooth speaker next to her. The intro is a clear yet slightly melancholic guitar arpeggio, simple yet deeply moving. Immediately afterwards, a male voice flowed out from the speaker. Li Yichuan, who had been lounging lazily on the sofa, unconsciously straightened up slightly. This male voice is very special. It's not the kind of deliberately showy, deep or high-pitched voice, but a clean, clear voice with a unique magnetism, like the most comforting voice on a late-night radio station. What's even more remarkable is that his emotional investment when singing is extremely natural and sincere. Every word and every note seems to carry a story, gently touching the listener's heartstrings. The raindrops outside the window tap out a melody, like the rhythm of my heartbeat when I miss you. The lyrics are vivid and evocative, simple yet moving. The melody flows smoothly and beautifully, the chorus is very memorable, catchy yet not cliché. Although the arrangement sounds simple, mainly consisting of guitar, piano and simple strings, it is layered and effectively enhances the vocals and the emotional atmosphere of the song. After listening to the song, Li Yichuan was still somewhat unsatisfied and subconsciously tapped the replay button. After listening to it again, her surprise deepened. This song, from its lyrics and composition to its performance and overall production, is of a very high standard, even comparable to some professional record companies' carefully crafted title tracks. Moreover, that genuine emotional expression is something that many mass-produced products lack. She quickly clicked on the song details page to check the creator information. Song, Unfinished Melody. Singer, Chen Hao. Composer, Chen Hao. Lyrics by Chen Hao. Arrangement, Chen Hao. All of them are Chen Hao. A hint of surprise flashed in Li Yichuan's beautiful eyes. Can one person handle all the work of singing, writing lyrics, composing music, and arranging? This is quite rare in the music industry. Usually only top singer-songwriters can do this, and the arrangement often requires the assistance of others. This Chen Hao, she quickly searched her mind. First-tier and second-tier male singers, well-known music producers, and recently emerging online singer-songwriters, none of them have this name. Could it be an alternate account of some famous musician? Or is it a hidden master releasing songs using a secondary account? She listened to the voice again carefully. It was unfamiliar and not from any well-known singer or musician she knew. She couldn't possibly be unaware of that unique voice and singing style if she had a certain level of fame. Looks like a newcomer, or just an amateur musician. Li Yichuan muttered to herself, but then a strong sense of interest and curiosity welled up within her. Someone who can write and sing songs of this quality is definitely not an ordinary person. A thought suddenly arose in her mind, and it grew clearer and clearer. If I could contact Chen Hao and get the rights to this song, I could sing it myself and officially release it. With the quality of this song and her own popularity and singing skills, she is sure to ignite the market and take her career to the next level. This could even become the hit single for her next album. This idea excited her. She immediately used the private messaging function on the Kugu music platform to find the musician's account Chen Hao and edited a long private message. Hello, Mr. Chen Hao. I apologize for bothering you. I am a singer, Li Yichuan. I stumbled upon your composition Unfinished Melody quite by chance, and was immediately awestruck, listening to it on repeat countless times. I deeply admire your creative talent and singing ability. I have a favor to ask. I wonder if I might be fortunate enough to obtain the authorization to perform this song? I truly believe this is a rare and excellent piece of work, and I hope that more listeners can hear it either through my cover or a duet. If you are interested, we can discuss this in more detail. This is my personal contact information, 138x*x*x*x same as WeChat ID. Looking forward to your reply. Best regards. Li Yichuan. Even after sending the private message, Li Yichuan still kept it in mind. She then clicked into Chen Hao's personal homepage and found that there was more than just Unfinished Melody, there were 9 other newly uploaded songs. She simply put on better monitoring headphones and listened to one song after another. Every Day I Met You, Starry Wish, Slow Delivery of Time, Flying Against the Wind. The style ranges from heartfelt folk songs to upbeat pop, and then to inspirational songs with a touch of rock. Each song has an exceptionally good melody, meaningful lyrics, and arrangements that, while not elaborate, are just right. The singer named Chen Hao always manages to accurately grasp the emotional core of each song and perfectly interpret it with his unique voice. What shocked her even more was that all 10 songs, from lyrics, composition, arrangement to performance, were all credited to Chen Hao. Chapter 55 Original Song tops the new song chart. Genius, this is absolutely a musical genius. After listening to the last song, Li Yichuan took off her headphones, deeply shocked. One person, independently completing 10 high-quality songs with diverse styles in a short period of time. This requires not only inspiration, but also extremely solid and comprehensive musical skills and amazing creative energy. Just who exactly is this Chen Hao? She was almost certain that if these songs received enough promotion and exposure, the name Chen Hao would soon be remembered by countless music fans. Meanwhile, on the other end of the internet, the comments sections for Unfinished Melody and several other songs on the Kugo platform were already bustling with activity. Although Chen Hao is still a completely unknown newcomer, good music speaks for itself. Listeners who are recommended by algorithms or clicked in by chance are constantly leaving pleasantly surprised comments after listening to his songs. Netizen, my ears are pregnant, oh my god. I stumbled upon this song Unfinished Melody and was hooked from the very first note. This male voice is so beautiful. Clear and magnetic, it's like it could make your ears pregnant. The lyrics are so lovely too, I've been listening to it on repeat ever since. Netizen backpacker searching for great songs, a treasure. Absolutely a treasure singer. I listened to all the songs on the homepage in one go, and they were all written, composed, arranged, and sung by the same person? What an amazing artist. Flying Against the Wind got my blood pumping, and Every Day I Met You was so sweet it was almost sickening. His ability to handle different styles is incredible. I've followed this thread and am waiting for it to become a hit. Netizen professional cold water splasher for 30 years, not a paid troll? This data and the quality of the new song are a bit outrageous. However, the songs are indeed good, especially Unfinished Melody, with excellent lyrics, music, and vocals, far surpassing many of the current chart-topping pop songs. Hopefully, this won't be just a flash in the pan. Netizen Yao Yao loves strawberries the most, ah. Is this song sung for a girlfriend? So sweet and affectionate. The heart you drew next to the coffee cup is such a vivid image. Netizen music department student, from a professional perspective, the melodies of these 10 songs are very mature, the harmonic progressions are sophisticated and unconventional, and although the arrangement uses a certain sound source, it sounds very comfortable. Most importantly, the emotional expression in the singing is extremely accurate, which is difficult to achieve without years of training and talent. This Chen Hao is either a professionally trained master or a gifted amateur expert. Admire. Netizen passing by while eating melon, it's so good, that's all that matters. I've already added it to my favorites playlist. It's much better than those songs by so and so that they buy trending topics every day. Support original music, support good music. Netizen waiting for updates. Little cat, the singer's voice sounds like a senior from my school, but that's probably impossible, that senior is a computer science whiz. It really sounds so good. The song is amazing, please release an album. The comments section was flooded with positive reviews. Although the number of comments couldn't compare to those of established singers, almost all of them were genuine praise and surprise. As Lee Ichuan scrolled through these comments, she became even more convinced of her judgment. This sudden emergence of Chen Hao, and the 10 high-quality songs he brought, may be quietly stirring up the waters of the music scene. She longed to be the first to discover this treasure and to have a connection with it. She would refresh her private message interface every now and then, hoping that a red icon indicating a reply would appear next to that unfamiliar profile picture. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the restaurant windows as Chen Hao and Zhang Shuiyao sat at the table eating breakfast. Chen Hao's congee with preserved egg and lean pork smelled delicious, and it was served with a few refreshing side dishes, simple yet tasty. While sipping her porridge, Zhang Shuiyao was still thinking about the song Chen Hao uploaded yesterday. She put down her spoon, picked up her phone, and skillfully opened the Kugu Music app, muttering to herself. Let me see how your songs are doing, whether anyone is listening to them. She went straight to the new song chart page and scanned the list. The next second, her movements suddenly stopped, her eyes widened instantly, and her mouth opened slightly, with an expression of disbelief. Chen Hao. Her voice trembled with excitement as she quickly turned her phone screen towards Chen Hao, pointing to the very top of the list. Look! Your song. Unfinished Melody. It's number 1 on the new song chart. Upon hearing this, Chen Hao looked up and saw that, sure enough, the top spot on the 24-hour new song chart was occupied by Unfinished Melody, sung by Chen Hao. And there's more. Zhang Shuiyao excitedly scrolled down the screen. Look! Every Day I Meet You is number 7. Starry Wish is number 11. Timed Delivery. Oh my god. Chen Hao, all 10 songs you uploaded have made it into the top 20 of the new song chart. She counted them one by one, her face flushed with excitement. And there are so many people praising each song in the comments. They all say it's great. Seeing Zhang Shuiyao's even more excited expression than his own, Chen Hao felt a little surprised and happy, but he maintained his composure and simply smiled. Really? It seems the response has been quite good. Not just good. It's off the charts. Zhang Shuiyao pushed the phone towards Chen Hao again. Quickly check the back end. See if you've made any money. Pressed by her relentlessly, Chen Hao had no choice but to take out his own phone and log into the Kugo musician's backend. I found the earnings statistics section and clicked on it. A number popped up on the screen, 58,912.47 yuan. How much? Zhang Shuiyao eagerly leaned over to look. When she saw the number clearly, she exclaimed again. Over 58,000? My god! Chen Hao, it's only been less than a day. You've earned almost 60,000 yuan with just these 10 songs? This amount is indeed not a large sum of money for her, a rich girl who receives millions in pocket money. But she knew very well that for the vast majority of ordinary people, and even for many hard-working white-collar workers, earning nearly 60,000 yuan in a day was something they would never even dare to dream of. Especially since this is passive income generated purely from creative talent. You're amazing. Chen Hao, you're incredible. Zhang Shuiyao looked at Chen Hao with stars in her eyes, filled with admiration. Songwriting and singing can make so much money. My husband is truly an all-rounder. Chen Hao was actually quite surprised when he saw the earnings figures in the back end. He originally thought that he would be lucky to get some spare income, but he didn't expect it to be so effective. It went straight to the new song chart and the income came so quickly. This is indeed a pleasant surprise. He put away his phone, looked at Zhang Shuiyao who was still excited, deliberately raised an eyebrow, and a mischievous smile appeared on his lips. Is it enough to just praise him verbally? Is there any tangible reward? Chapter 56. Li Yichuan contacted him? Could she be a scammer? Zhang Shuiyao was taken aback, blinked her big eyes, and asked in confusion, a substantial reward? What kind of reward do you want? Chen Hao didn't speak, but simply pointed his index finger at his cheek and then moved his face closer to Zhang Shuiyao. His meaning couldn't be clearer. Zhang Shuiyao understood immediately, her face instantly flushing red. She gave him a playful glare and muttered under her breath. You're the only one who wants a reward. Even so, she still pouted her alluring red lips slightly, leaned forward, and prepared to kiss Chen Hao on the cheek as a reward for this musical prodigy. Just as her lips were about to touch Chen Hao's cheek, Chen Hao suddenly turned his head and his face turned around. Zhang Shuiao's soft, sweet lips landed perfectly on Chen Hao's lips. Zhang Shuiao's eyes widened in surprise. Before she could react, Chen Hao had already wrapped his arms around her waist and supported the back of her head with his other hand, deepening the kiss. His tongue deftly pried open her pearly teeth, conquering and entwining with her little tongue. Zhang Shuiao's initial surprise quickly turned into a tingling electric current that ran from her lips throughout her body. She symbolically pushed Chen Hao twice, then closed her eyes, her arms unconsciously wrapping around his neck as she responded passionately. The restaurant fell silent, save for the soft breathing and kissing sounds of the two, along with the faint aroma of breakfast, creating an ambiguous yet warm atmosphere. After a long while, Chen Hao reluctantly let go of her. Zhang Shuiao's body went limp from his kisses, her cheeks flushed, her eyes glazed, and she leaned against him, breathing softly. She recovered from her shock and playfully punched Chen Hao in the chest, exclaiming, You're so mean. You ambushed me like that. Chen Hao licked his lips, looking as if he was savoring the taste, and laughed, Who told you to have such a sweet tongue? I couldn't resist. You rascal. Your mouth is full of honey. Zhang Shuiao retorted, blushing. Oh? Is that so? Chen Hao leaned closer to her, deliberately lowering his voice as he asked. So, is my mouth sweet? Zhang Shuiao was even more embarrassed by his question. She lowered her head, buried her burning cheeks in his chest, and whispered an almost inaudible Sweet, sweet to the core. But inside, it felt like a jar of honey had been spilled, so sweet it was almost cloying. The two flirted and teased each other for a while before sitting down again to continue eating their breakfast, which had gotten a little cold. While eating, Chen Hao picked up his phone again and opened the Kugo app in the background. Besides the earnings, he also noticed a prominent red number in the private message section, showing 99 plus unread private messages. He opened his private message list, and sure enough, a flood of messages came in. Most of them were sent by listeners. Netizen on loop, Chen Hao. Your songs are so good. I've listened to Unfinished Melody on repeat 20 times. Please release an album. Netizen music lover, master. I'm in awe. All 10 songs are masterpieces. Which music academy are you from? Please provide your contact information. Netizen, healed by the song, thank you for your song. I was in a bad mood today, but listening to Starry Wish made me feel much better. Come on. Netizen, seeking collaboration, hi blogger, we are XX Music Studio. We think your voice and songwriting have great potential. Would you be interested in discussing a collaboration? Contact information. There are all sorts of messages praising, confessing feelings, and asking for cooperation. Chen Hao glanced through the pages, feeling a warmth in his heart. It is very fulfilling to be able to touch others with your music. Just then, the title of a private message caught his attention. The sender's ID is Li, and the title of the private message is, A Sincere Request for Authorization to Perform the Unfinished Melody. Li Yichuan? Chen Hao was quite familiar with this name. Zhang Shuiao sometimes plays music in her car, and it's often her own songs. One of the most popular young pop stars in China right now, she has a clear and distinctive voice, solid singing skills, has released many hit songs, and won many music awards. She is a true top-tier singer. Would she send me a private message? Chen Hao's first reaction was suspicion. Could it be an imposter from some fan? He opened the private message and read it carefully. The private message was written in a very formal and sincere manner. It first expressed the love and appreciation for his songs, then introduced the person's identity with a simple verification statement, which did not seem fake, then requested the permission to perform songs such as Unfinished Melody, and expressed willingness to discuss the cooperation method in detail. Finally, it left contact information. The tone of the private message was neither humble nor arrogant, expressing both appreciation and professionalism. Chen Hao stroked his chin, lost in thought. Judging from the content and wording of this private message, it doesn't seem like a prank or a fan impersonating someone else. If it really is Li Yichuan herself, why would a singer of her caliber actively contact an unknown amateur musician to ask for a song? That's interesting. Are the songs he creates so good that they attract top singers to actively invite him to write songs? He glanced at Zhang Shuiao, who was eating her porridge and occasionally stealing glances at him, and decided not to tell her about it for the time being. After all, whether this private message is genuine or not, and what the other party's intentions are, still need to be further confirmed. Zhang Shuiya was sipping her porridge when she looked up and saw Chen Hao holding his phone, staring at the screen but not moving his fingers for a long time. His expression was a bit strange, as if he was lost in thought. "Chen Hao, what's wrong? What are you looking at so intently?" She couldn't help but ask out of curiosity, waving her hand in front of his eyes. Chen Hao snapped out of his daze, looked up at Zhang Shuiya, hesitated for a moment, then handed her his phone, pointing to the private message and saying, "Take a look at this." Zhang Shuiya took the phone and looked at the screen curiously. When she saw the sender's name and the content of the private message, her eyes widened and she blurted out, "Li Yichuan? Is that the Li Yichuan who sings? She sent you a private message? And she wants to cover your song?" Her voice rose a few decibels with surprise, and her face was filled with disbelief. Chen Hao nodded, also feeling a bit surprised. "Yeah, I didn't expect that either." Looking at the private message, the other party claimed to be Li Yichuan, saying they really liked the unfinished melody and wanted to discuss licensing a cover version. "My God! What does this mean? It means that your songs are really, really good." Zhang Shuiyo excitedly shoved the phone back into Chen Hao's hand, grabbing his arm and shaking it, even more excited than if she had received a private message from a celebrity herself. "Even a big star like Li Yichuan came to you to ask for a song. Chen Hao, you're amazing. How can my husband be so incredible?" Her eyes sparkled with that adoring light again. Chapter 57. Li Yichuan, are you a teacher in the music department of Shanghai University? Chen Hao smiled, feeling a little swayed by Zhang Shuiya's shaking, but he also felt quite pleased. However, he remained calm. "Don't get too excited. These days, there are plenty of scammers online impersonating celebrities. Who knows if this Li Yichuan is real? Maybe it's just a fan or a prank." Zhang Shuiya calmed down a little after hearing this, but immediately said, "That's true. But didn't she leave her WeChat contact information? Why don't you add her and see? It won't hurt to get in touch, and what if it's true? That would be fantastic news." She leaned closer to Chen Hao, her eyes sparkling, and began to analyze. "Think about it, if Li Yichuan really wants to cover your song, wouldn't your song be on a fast track? You may sing well, but there are still relatively few people who know you. But Li Yichuan is different. She's a big star with so many fans. If she sings your song, it will definitely become a huge hit. Won't more people know that you wrote the song and that you were the original singer? Maybe your other songs will become hits too, then you'll make even more money." The more she listened, the more sense it made, and she shook Chen Hao's arm. "Add him, give it a try. If he's a scammer, just ignore him. If it's real, this is a great opportunity." Chen Hao felt a warmth in his heart seeing how much Zhang Shuiyo cared even more than he did. He had already intended to contact the other party to confirm, and now, after hearing Zhang Shuiyo's analysis, he felt it was even more necessary. He asked, "Do you think I should authorize her to sing the song if the other party really is Li Yichuan?" "Of course." Zhang Shuiya answered almost without hesitation. "What's there to hesitate about? It's a win-win situation. She gets to sing good songs, and you can increase your fame and income. Besides, she sings her version, but your original version is still available, so those who like it will naturally come to listen to you. I think it's great." She paused, then added, "Of course, we can discuss the specifics of the authorization, such as how much the authorization fee will be, over time. Anyway, the initiative is in your hands. Your song is so great." Chen Hao smiled and reached out to ruffle her hair. "Okay, I'll do as you say. I'll contact them and see." He took back his phone, copied the WeChat ID left in the private message, opened WeChat, pasted it, and sent a friend request. The reason for the application was simple. "Hello, I am Chen Hao, a musician on Kugo Music." After doing all that, the two of them had almost finished breakfast. Zhang Shuiyo checked the time and urged, all right, hurry up and get ready, we need to go to school, or we'll be late." "Okay." Chen Hao got up and helped Zhang Shuiyo take the dishes to the kitchen, then rinsed them briefly. Then the two changed their clothes, grabbed their backpacks, and went out together. Zhang Shuiyo was still driving, and Chen Hao was sitting in the passenger seat. The car smoothly drove out of the villa area and merged into the morning rush hour traffic. On the other side, Li Yichuan, who was also having breakfast, was not so calm. The breakfast in front of her was exquisite, but she ate it somewhat absent-mindedly. With one hand, he poked at the fruit on the plate with a fork, while with the other hand he kept picking up his phone, turning on the screen, glancing at the private message interface of the Kugo app, and then putting it down in disappointment. In her private message list, the message she sent to Chen Hao last night was still lying there quietly, without a reply. Didn't he see it? Li Yichuan's delicate eyebrows furrowed slightly. I did see it, but I think I'm a scammer and I can't be bothered to pay any attention to it? That's not impossible. It's perfectly normal for an unknown musician to suddenly receive a private message from someone claiming to be Li Yichuan asking for a song, and their first reaction would be to suspect that it's an imposter. She herself often receives many private messages from people impersonating various identities. But she's real. And she genuinely loves those songs. Li Yichuan, somewhat annoyed, stabbed a piece of dragon fruit hard with her fork. She rarely takes the initiative to contact a stranger, especially one who is not yet well known. But after listening to Chen Hao's songs, she felt an intense urge to sing and collaborate with him. She felt that those melodies and lyrics contained something that could touch many people. Just then, my phone chimed. It was a WeChat notification. She picked it up lazily and saw it was just a regular greeting message from a friend. She casually replied with an emoji. Just as she was about to put down her phone, she caught a glimpse of a small red dot in her WeChat contacts. She clicked on it instinctively. The new friends section shows one friend request. The applicant's nickname is very simple, Chen Hao. The application notes read, "Hello, I am Chen Hao, a musician on Kugo Music." Li Yichuan's eyes lit up instantly, her earlier gloom vanished, and her heart even beat faster. He saw it. He added me. She accepted the friend request almost instantly. The WeChat chat interface popped up, and the other person had appeared in her friend list. Li Yichuan took a deep breath, calmed her somewhat excited emotions, organized her thoughts, and then quickly typed and sent the message. Hello, Mr. Chen Hao. I am Li Yichuan. It's a pleasure to get in touch with you. I heard your work on Kugo last night and was amazed, especially Unfinished Melody, which I listened to on repeat for a long time. I am contacting you with great enthusiasm because I sincerely hope to have the opportunity to cooperate with you. Would it be convenient for you to chat? Soft music was playing in Zhang Xueyao's car. As she drove, she chatted with Chen Hao about whether they should go to the library together to look up some information after arriving at school. Chen Hao just grunted in response when his phone vibrated and the screen lit up, showing a new WeChat notification. He swiped the screen and saw a notification that his friend request had been accepted. Clicking on it, it was indeed the account named Li Yichuan Li. It's approved, Chen Hao said to Zhang Xueya. No sooner had I finished speaking than a message came in, the content of which was similar to the private message, but the tone was more direct, once again expressing appreciation and the desire to cooperate. Chen Hao thought for a moment, then typed a reply on the screen, Ms. Li Yichuan? Is that really you? Shortly after the message was sent, the other party replied, their tone seemingly both helpless and affirmative. Of course it's me. If Mr. Chen Hao doesn't believe me, we can meet and talk. Is this convenient for you? Meeting? Chen Hao was somewhat surprised that the other party was so direct. He glanced at Zhang Xueyo, who was listening intently beside him, and replied. Meeting is possible. I'm in Shanghai right now. That's great. I'm in Shanghai too. Li Yichuan replied quickly, then asked another question. By the way, Professor Chen Hao, are you a teacher in the music department of Shanghai University? Or are you a graduate student in the music department? Chapter 58. He forgot his brothers after getting a wife. Chen Hao replied truthfully, no, I am a junior in the computer science department of Shanghai University. After the message was sent, the other party seemed stunned and didn't reply for a while. Chen Hao could imagine that the person on the other side of the screen was probably completely bewildered. Sure enough, about a minute later, Li Yichuan's message popped up again, accompanied by a string of exclamation marks. Computer science department? A third-year student? My God. Professor Chen Hao, no, student Chen Hao, you are just too amazing. A computer science major can write and sing such beautiful songs? I don't even know what to say. You're simply a musical genius. It's unbelievable. Chen Hao could sense the shock and disbelief in the other person's expression as he watched the series of exclamations. He replied politely, you flatter me. It's just a hobby, I just write whatever comes to mind. If this is just a hobby, how are we professionals supposed to make a living? Li Yichuan seemed not to have fully recovered from the shock. Chen Hao, I am truly impressed. Well, shall we meet and talk? When is a convenient time for you? I'll be in Shanghai recently. Chen Hao thought about today's schedule and realized he didn't have any classes in the afternoon, so he replied, I don't have any classes this afternoon, that's fine. Very good. Li Yichuan seemed very pleased and immediately sent over the address of a coffee shop. It was located in a relatively quiet and stylish business district in Shanghai, not a particularly public place, suitable for discussing business. She also included a specific time, 2 p.m., is that alright? Chen Hao checked the time. If he went to school now, he could finish his morning classes, take a break at noon, and then go there. The timing would be perfect. He replied, sure, no problem. See you at 2 p.m. Okay. Looking forward to meeting you. See you this afternoon. Li Yichuan sent the last message, along with a happy emoji. After ending the chat, Chen Hao put away his phone and said to Zhang Shuiao, who was already extremely curious, we got in touch and arranged to meet at 2 p.m. today to talk. Really? That's wonderful. Zhang Shuiao immediately perked up upon hearing this, her face beaming with a bright smile. I knew it. It's definitely the real person. Chen Hao, this is a great opportunity. If you can really collaborate with Li Yichuan, your song will definitely spread like wildfire. Then you'll be even more famous, and making money will be even easier. She was genuinely happy for Chen Hao, feeling that her man's talent being recognized made her happier than anything else. Seeing that she was even more excited than he was, Chen Hao had an idea and said, Shuiao, will you come with me this afternoon? Huh? Me? Zhang Shuiao was stunned for a moment, and almost lost her grip on the steering wheel. Her heart skipped a beat, and a surge of surprise and anticipation welled up inside her. She really likes Li Yichuan's songs and is practically a fan, so she was naturally thrilled to meet her in person. Moreover, Chen Hao offered to let her accompany him. This shows that Chen Hao cares about her feelings. After all, he was going to meet a woman, and a beautiful and famous female celebrity at that. She felt a sweet warmth in her heart, but then a trace of worry arose. She hesitated for a moment, then whispered, I guess I won't go? Why? Chen Hao asked, puzzled. Don't you really like her songs? Let's go meet her. Moreover, you can also offer me advice when we discuss matters. Zhang Shuiao pursed her lips and voiced her concerns. It's precisely because she's a big star and a woman. If I go with you, will she think that it's not formal enough for you to bring your girlfriend along when you're discussing business, or that I'm controlling you? What if it affects your cooperation negotiations? After all, this is a rare opportunity. Her voice trailed off as she spoke. Although she really wanted to go, she was even more afraid that she would cause Chen Hao to miss the opportunity. Chen Hao was deeply moved upon hearing this. This silly girl, she's always thinking about him. He reached out and took Zhang Shuiao's hand, which was resting on the gearshift, and gently squeezed it. He said in a serious tone, silly girl, what are you thinking about? If the other party doesn't want to cooperate because I have a girlfriend, or because you're there, then it's better not to cooperate with that kind of person. My songs will always have an audience. Besides, you're the most important person to me. When I'm discussing business, having you beside me makes me feel more at ease. Zhang Shuiao felt a surge of warmth in her heart and her nose tingled with emotion at his words. He always cared so much about her feelings. However, she shook her head, took Chen Hao's hand in return, and her tone became firmer. Chen Hao, I understand your intentions. But this time, you should go by yourself. This is a serious collaboration discussion. You're talking about music, copyright, and terms, and it might not be appropriate for me to be here. And I believe in you. You can handle it very well on your own. I'll just wait for you to come back and tell me the good news. She paused, then winked playfully. If things go well, wouldn't it be better if you took me to meet her as the girlfriend of the original songwriter? Chen Hao's heart melted when he saw her trying so hard to hold back her desire to go, and how she was trying to think of him. He knew that although Zhang Shuiao sometimes liked to act coquettishly, she was very sensible when it came to important matters. Seeing her insistence, Chen Hao didn't press her further and respected her decision. Okay, whatever you say. Chen Hao let go of her hand and instead ruffled her hair. Then you can make your own arrangements this afternoon, be good. I'll come back to you after I'm done talking. Yes. Zhang Shuiao nodded vigorously, a smile returning to her face. You need to negotiate well. Try your best to secure the cooperation. Good luck. The car continued towards Shanghai University, and the sunlight streamed through the windows, warming the two of them. Zhang Shuiao's slight regret was quickly replaced by her expectation and trust in Chenhao, while Chenhao began to mentally organize the topics that might need to be discussed during their meeting that afternoon. Upon arriving at school and parking the car, Chenhao and Zhang Shuiao walked into the classroom as usual and naturally sat in their usual seats in the back row. Not long after, Dong Letian, Baiyu, and Fan Xing strolled in arm. As soon as they saw the two of them, they immediately came over. Tian Xinyue also sat down with Zhang Shuiao with a smile. "Hey! Look who's here! It's Hao Ji, the #1 guy in our 510 dorm who prioritizes girls over friends." Dong Letian plopped down next to Chenhao, teasing him with winks and smirks. "He's always inseparable from his sister-in-law, doesn't he even care about us brothers anymore?" Baiyu adjusted his glasses and nodded seriously. Data shows that Hao Ji's time spent in the dormitory this week decreased by 80% year-on-year, and the probability of him appearing with Zhang Shuiao is close to 100%. Conclusion: a classic case of forgetting your brothers after getting a wife. Fan Xing then smiled at Zhang Shuiao and said, "Shuiao,